It is 2 in the morning when the phone buzzes on my nightstand. I open my eyes slowly, still trapped in that dream where my late husband, Arthur, was making me coffee just like he used to every Sunday. The screen illuminates my small bedroom with a cold light that makes me squint. It is Julian, my son. I answer without thinking too much, because a call at this hour can only mean one thing: emergency. His voice comes through agitated, almost breathless, as if he had just run a marathon. Mom, I need you to listen to me. I am in serious trouble. Your card was declined at the hotel. I need $9,000 right now, or they aren't going to let me leave. They are threatening to call the police. Please, Mom, you have to send the money now. I sit up in bed. The mattress creaks a little, that familiar sound that has accompanied me for 15 years. I look around my room. At the cream-colored walls I painted myself 3 summers ago. The dresser inherited from my mother with its worn handles, the photo of Arthur in a silver frame next to the electric candle I always keep on. I take a deep breath. I feel the cold, early morning air drifting in through the window I left ajar. Julian keeps talking, his voice rising in volume, mixing pleading with demanding. Mom, are you listening? Caroline is here with me. She's crying. Imagine the humiliation. The hotel manager practically has us detained at the front desk. This is a 5-star resort in Las Vegas. You cannot let us go through this embarrassment. Just send the money, and we will fix it tomorrow. I close my eyes. I see the image of Julian at 5 years old, running toward me with skinned knees after falling off his bicycle. I see him at 12, hugging me tight the day his father died, promising me we would always be together. I see him at 25, introducing me to Caroline with that nervous smile, asking me to treat her like a daughter. I open my eyes again. The reality is this: a phone vibrating in the dark, a voice demanding money as if it were my obligation, as if I were an ATM without feelings or needs of my own. Mom, for the love of God, say something. I need that money now. My account is empty because we just paid for the trip and the shows. I thought your card had enough of a limit. You have always had money to help us. You can't abandon me like this. My hand tightens around the phone. I feel the warm plastic against my palm. Outside, I hear the distant bark of a dog, the hum of a car passing on the wet street. It must have rained while I slept. The smell of damp earth drifts in through the window. I think about all the times I have sent money. I think about the signed checks, the transfers made at 3 in the afternoon on any given Tuesday, the envelopes handed over with a smile that was never reciprocated. I think about Julian and Caroline's wedding 15 years ago, when I paid for the entire country club reception because they wanted something elegant. $15,000 that I took from my savings, from the money Arthur and I had put away for our old age. I remember the day I wrote that check. I was sitting at my kitchen table, the pen trembling a little in my hand. Julian hugged me and said, Mom, you are the best. I promise we will make it up to you. They never did. After that came the down payment on their house. $30,000 I paid when Julian arrived, telling me they had found the perfect colonial in the suburbs. But the bank required a larger down payment. It is an investment, Mom. It is our future. Caroline is pregnant with Mia. We need space for our family. I paid. I always paid. The new car, when theirs broke down, $8,000. The living room furniture, because what they had was already outdated, $4,000. The trip to Europe for their 10-year anniversary, $6,000. The high-end laptop Julian needed for his work, $2,500. Mia's private school uniforms and tuition, thousands and thousands of dollars every year. And here I am, in my 2-bedroom apartment, where the heater sometimes fails in winter, with my television from 12 years ago that has a green line in the corner, with my refrigerator that has been making a strange noise since last summer, but keeps running, so I do not replace it, with my comfortable shoes bought on clearance because the others hurt my feet, but I could not bring myself to spend $150 on new ones. Mom, are you hearing me or not? The manager is losing patience. Caroline is hysterical. This is your responsibility. You gave me that authorized user card. You told me to use it in emergencies. Well, this is an emergency. Call your wife, I say. My voice comes out calm, almost indifferent. I hang up before hearing his response. I turn off the phone. I leave it face down on the nightstand. I lie back down. I adjust the pillow under my head, close my eyes. The silence returns to my room like a soft blanket. I feel my heart beating slowly, steady, strong. I fall asleep thinking about the coffee I'm going to make tomorrow, the toast with strawberry jam I bought on Saturday, the show I missed tonight. I sleep without guilt. I sleep deeply. I sleep like I haven't slept in years. I wake up with the sunlight streaming through the window. It is 8 in the morning. I stretch slowly, feeling my bones creak with that familiar sound of 72 years well lived. I get up, put on the brown slippers Mia gave me 2 Christmases ago. I walk to the kitchen. I put water on to boil for my coffee. The smell comforts me, brings me back to Arthur, brings back quiet Sundays when we were young and the world seemed full of promises. While I wait for the water to boil, I look out my kitchen window. Mrs. Higgins from the apartment across the way is walking her poodle like every morning. An orange tabby cat walks along the fence with that perfect balance only cats have. The sky is clear, that deep azure color that promises a hot day. I make my coffee with 2 spoonfuls of sugar, just the way I like it. I take out the bread I bought yesterday, toast it a little, spread butter and jam. I sit at my small round table, the one Arthur and I bought at a flea market 30 years ago. The wood is worn. It has stains that no cleaning product has been able to remove, but it is mine. It is ours. I eat slowly. I chew every bite. I savor my coffee. I do not turn on the television. I do not check the phone I left turned off. I just enjoy this moment of silence, this moment where no one asks me for anything, no one demands anything. No one makes me feel that my only function in this world is to open my wallet. I finish my breakfast. I wash the dishes. I dry each one with care, put them in their place. Everything has an order in my kitchen, a system I have perfected during decades of living alone. Arthur died 20 years ago. 20 years of learning to be by myself, of cooking for one, of sleeping in a bed that feels too big, of making decisions without consulting anyone. 20 years of being the mom who solves problems. 20 years of being my son's personal bank. I turn on the phone. I expected this. 37 missed calls, 22 text messages, all from Julian, some from Caroline. I do not even open them. I know exactly what they say. Please, demands, guilt, the perfect recipe to make me feel like the worst mother in the world. I leave the phone on the table and walk to my bedroom. I open the closet, that small space where I keep my clothes organized by color. I take a shoebox from the top shelf. There are no shoes inside. There are papers, documents, memories that hurt. I sit on the bed with the box in my lap. I open the lid slowly, as if there were something fragile inside that could break. The first thing I see is the check for the wedding, a photocopy I made just in case. $15,000 paid to the Botanical Gardens, the venue where Julian and Caroline celebrated their love with 200 guests, an open bar, a 5-course banquet, a live band, and fireworks at the end. I was not part of the planning. Caroline wanted everything to be perfect, everything to be elegant, for everyone to talk about her wedding for years. And so it was. It was beautiful. It was expensive. It was paid for by me, while I wore the same beige suit I had bought for my cousin's wedding 3 years prior. I pull out another paper, the contract for the house, Julian and Caroline's signatures, and below, my name as the co-signer. $30,000 for the down payment that came out of the account Arthur left for me, for my old age, for real emergencies. Julian promised me he would pay it back in 2 years. It has been 14. I have never seen a single dollar back. I keep looking. Transfer receipts, one from March of last year, $3,000 for roof repairs, one from July, $2,500 for the car, one from October, $1,800 for Mia's university books, one from December, $4,000 for the holiday parties because Caroline wanted to host a memorable dinner. I count mentally. I add up every paper, every receipt, every check. The numbers dance before my eyes. 60, 70, 80. I reach $120,000. $120,000 that I have given to my son in the last 15 years. Money that came out of my pension, from Arthur's savings, from the life insurance I collected when he died, from the overtime hours I worked as a secretary until I retired at 65. $120,000. And I have never received an invitation to dinner at their house. I have never received a birthday gift that wasn't bought at the last minute at a gas station. I have never received a hug that didn't come accompanied by a request for money. I put the papers back in the box. I close it. I put it back on the top shelf of the closet. I close the door, carefully. I look at myself in the mirror attached to the inside of the door. I see a 72-year-old woman, short, practical gray hair, deep wrinkles around the eyes and mouth, hands spotted by age with prominent veins, a body that has worked hard, that has given life, that has supported others while forgetting to support itself. I look into my eyes, those dark brown eyes that Julian inherited. I wonder when was the last time I really looked at myself. When was the last time I saw myself as something more than a provider, as something more than a solution to other people's problems? The phone vibrates in the other room. I am not going to answer. Not yet. I need this moment. I need this silence. I need this clarity I am feeling for the first time in decades. I leave my bedroom. I walk to the living room. I sit in my favorite armchair, that olive green one that Caroline hates. It is old, I know. The cushions are sunken in the places where I sit the most. The fabric is worn on the arms, but it is comfortable. It is mine. No one else wants it, so no one is going to take it from me. I pick up the remote. I turn on the television. I put on the news channel. I need to hear something. I need to fill this space with voices that do not know me, that ask nothing of me, that simply exist. The news speaks of politics, of the economy, of an accident on the highway. I listen halfway. My mind is elsewhere. It is in that hotel in Las Vegas where my son and daughter-in-law are having a difficult moment. A moment they created. A moment I am not going to solve. The phone rings again. This time it is a call, not a message. I look at the screen. It isn't Julian. It is an unknown number. A number with a Las Vegas area code. I answer. Good morning. Am I speaking with Mrs. Eleanor Brooks? Yes, this is she. Mrs. Brooks, this is Officer Miller from the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. I am calling regarding your son, Julian Brooks. He was detained this morning for theft of services. The resort pressed charges after he and his wife attempted to leave the premises without settling a bill of $9,200. Officer Miller has a firm but polite voice. He explains the situation with that professional tone used by people accustomed to delivering bad news. Julian and Caroline are being held at the station. The hotel pushed for formal charges. There is a legal process that must be followed. They can settle the debt plus an additional fine of $2,000 or face a court date that could take weeks. Mrs. Brooks, your son gave us your number as an emergency contact. He says you can resolve this situation. We need you to come to the station or make an immediate wire transfer to cover the costs and fines. It is $11,200 in total. I look out the window. The orange cat is still on the fence, now licking its paw with absolute concentration. Mrs. Higgins has finished walking her dog and is now watering her window box. The world keeps turning. Life goes on. Everything continues, regardless of the drama occurring 2,000 miles away. Officer Miller. I appreciate the call. My son is a 40-year-old adult. He made the decision to go to that hotel. He made the decision to spend money he did not have. Those are his decisions and his consequences. I am not going to pay. There is a silence on the other end of the line. I can hear voices in the background, the squawk of a police radio, someone laughing. The officer clears his throat uncomfortably. Ma'am, I understand your position, but you must understand that your son could spend several days in custody. The legal process here can be complicated. If you could reconsider. I will not reconsider. Julian has a wife. Caroline has family. They can solve their problem. I have already solved too many. I hang up before the officer can say anything else. My hands do not shake. My heart beats calmly. I feel something strange in my chest, something I hadn't felt in years. It takes a moment to identify it. It is relief. It is freedom. It is the weight of decades falling off my shoulders like a heavy coat I finally take off. The phone explodes with messages. I read them one by one, each word like a knife that no longer hurts because the skin has become too tough, too tired of bleeding. Julian. Mom, the police said you aren't going to pay. How can you do this to me? I am your son. Caroline. Eleanor. This is unbelievable. You have us locked up here like criminals. What kind of mother are you? Julian. They are going to move me to a cell. There are dangerous people here. Is that what you want? For your son to be in danger? Caroline. My mother would never do something like this to me. She actually knows what family love is. Julian. You paid for everything for us for years, and now that I really need you, you abandon me. You are a hypocrite. I turn off the phone again. I leave it on the table. I get up from the armchair and walk to my bedroom. I open the drawer of my nightstand, the one I always keep locked. Inside is an old hardcover notebook, chocolate brown. It is my journal. I started writing in it when Arthur died, when I needed to talk to someone, and there was no one. I sit on the bed with the notebook in my hands. I turn the pages slowly. I read entries from years ago. I read about the day Julian asked me for money for the wedding. I read about the time I arrived at their house with a cake for his birthday, and Caroline didn't let me in because they were busy. I read about the Christmas I spent alone because they went to Caroline's parents' house in Connecticut and I wasn't invited. I read about every forgotten birthday, every ignored call, every broken promise. There is an entry from 3 years ago that stops me. The handwriting is shaky, written after midnight when I couldn't sleep. It says, "Today Julian turned 37. I sent him $1,000 for his gift. He called me for 2 minutes. He just said, 'Thanks, Mom. I have to go. Caroline is waiting for me.' He hung up. He didn't ask how I am. He didn't ask if I need anything. He didn't ask anything. Sometimes I wonder if I am his mother or his bank. Sometimes I wonder if he loves me or only loves my money." I close the notebook. I put it back in the drawer. I lock it. I sit on the bed, staring at the wall. There is a water stain in the upper corner that I have been ignoring because fixing it costs money. Money I have used to fix other people's problems while my own roof falls apart. I get up. I walk to the living room. I take my purse. I take out my wallet. Inside is the credit card, the one that has Julian as an authorized user. The card he has used for years for his purchases, his trips, his whims. The card that was just declined in Las Vegas because I lowered the limit 2 months ago, tired of seeing charges he never consults me about. I pick up the landline in my living room. I dial the bank number printed on the back of the card. An automated voice gives me options. I press numbers until I hear a human voice. "Good afternoon. This is Sandra from customer service. How can I help you?" "Good afternoon, Sandra. My name is Eleanor Brooks. I need to cancel an authorized user card associated with my account." "Of course, Mrs. Brooks. Can you provide the number of the card you wish to cancel?" I give her the number. I hear the clicking of a computer on the other side. Perfect. I see here that this card is in the name of Julian Brooks. "Are you sure you wish to cancel it?" "Completely sure." "Understood. The card will be canceled within the next 2 hours. Is there anything else I can help you with?" "Yes. I want to remove Julian Brooks as a beneficiary of any automatic transfers I have set up on my account." "Let me check. I see you have a monthly automatic transfer of $2,500 that deposits into account ending in 3,421. Do you wish to cancel this transfer?" "Yes." "Cancel it, please." "Are you completely sure?" "This action is irreversible." "I am sure." "Very well. The automatic transfer has been canceled. Anything else, Mrs. Brooks?" "No. That is all. Thank you, Sandra." "Thank you. Have an excellent day." I hang up. I stand in the middle of my living room, phone still in hand. I feel something strange running through my body. It isn't guilt. It isn't regret. It is power. It is control. It is the sensation of finally taking the reins of my own life after years of letting others drive. I look at the wall clock Arthur bought on a trip to San Francisco. It is 11 in the morning. I have the whole day ahead of me. The whole day for me. I make myself another coffee. This time I have a chocolate cookie I bought a week ago that I was saving for a special occasion. Today is a special occasion. Today is the day I decided my life belongs to me. I sit in the armchair with my coffee and my cookie. I turn on the television. I change channels until I find an old black and white movie. It is one of those Arthur loved, with those actors with deep voices and those elegant actresses. Casablanca. I leave it on even though I don't pay much attention. The phone vibrates again. This time it is a different number. I recognize it. It is Caroline's mother, Catherine, a woman who has always treated me with that cold courtesy that hides contempt. A woman who has always thought her daughter married beneath her station, even though she never says it directly. I answer, "Eleanor, it's Catherine. Caroline called me crying from Las Vegas. She told me what is happening. She told me you are refusing to help. I need you to understand the gravity of the situation." "Good morning, Catherine. I understand the situation perfectly. Then you will understand that you need to send that money immediately. They are your son and daughter-in-law. They are family. They are adults capable of taking their own decisions. And decisions have consequences." Catherine's voice hardens on the other end of the line. I can imagine her in her elegant house in Connecticut, sitting in her living room with imported furniture, her coffee served in fine china, looking out her bay windows at the garden perfectly manicured by the landscaper who comes 3 times a week. "Eleanor, I don't know what is wrong with you, but this is unacceptable. My daughter is suffering. She is locked in a police station as if she were a delinquent, and all because you decided to throw a tantrum at your age." "It isn't a tantrum, Catherine. It is a decision. The first decision I have made for myself in 15 years. Well, it is a selfish and cruel decision. Do you know how many times Caroline has told me how generous you are? How many times she has defended you when I say, 'Julian depends too much on you,' and now it turns out it was all a lie. That in the moment that really matters, you abandon your family." I take a deep breath. I feel the anger starting to boil in my stomach, but I force myself to keep my voice calm. I am not going to give her the pleasure of seeing me upset. I am not going to give her the pleasure of making me feel guilty. "Catherine, for 15 years I have paid for practically everything in your daughter and my son's life. I paid for their wedding while you complained that the venue wasn't elegant enough. I paid the down payment on their house while you criticized that the neighborhood wasn't exclusive enough. I paid for their cars, their vacations, their furniture, Mia's school. I paid for it all while living in an apartment where the heater fails and moisture stains the walls. No one forced you to do that, Eleanor. If you did it, it was because you wanted to, because it is your obligation as a mother. Children are for life. You are right. No one forced me. I did it because I love them, because I thought it was my duty, because every time Julian called me with a problem, I ran to fix it. But you know what, Catherine? Love cannot be one-sided. Love cannot be me giving and them taking. Love cannot be me sacrificing myself while they live as if they had all the money in the world. Oh, please, Eleanor, how dramatic you have become. This isn't about love. It is about responsibility. Julian is your son, period. You brought him into this world, and it is your responsibility to take care of him. Julian is 40 years old, Catherine. 40. He isn't a child. He isn't a teenager. He is a grown man with a wife and a daughter. It is time he starts solving his own problems. Well, if you aren't going to help, I will. I'm going to send the money right now, and when they return, we are going to have a very serious conversation about your attitude. Perfect, Catherine. Send the money. Solve the problem for them. But when they call you in 3 months asking for more, when they have another emergency in 6 months, when they need another bailout in a year, remember this conversation. Remember, I warned you. I hang up before she can respond. My hands are shaking a little now. Not from fear, not from guilt, from rage contained for years, from frustration stored in every ignored call, in every forgotten birthday, in every time I was treated as a means to an end. I walk to the kitchen. I need to move. I need to do something with this energy boiling inside me. I open the refrigerator. There is chicken I bought 2 days ago. There are vegetables. There is rice. I decide to cook. Cooking has always calmed me. The process of chopping, seasoning, mixing flavors returns me to a place of control. I put music on the radio, a station playing old jazz. Arthur loved jazz. We used to dance in this very kitchen on Sunday afternoons, when Julian was small, and laughed watching us spin between the stove and the refrigerator. I chop onions. The tears that come out aren't just for the onion, they are for the lost years, for the wasted opportunities. For the version of myself I forgot, somewhere along the way, while I became the mom who fixes everything. I chop tomatoes, garlic, peppers. I put oil in the pan. I hear the sizzle when I throw in the vegetables. The smell fills my kitchen. It is a smell of home, of life, of normalcy. The phone rings again. I ignore it. It keeps ringing, insistent, annoying. Finally, I pick it up. It is Mia, my granddaughter, the only person in that family who sometimes calls me just to ask how I am. Grandma? Hello, sweetie. Grandma, Mom just called me. She's crying. She told me what happened. She told me Dad and her are detained. She told me you don't want to help. That is right, Mia. I am not going to help this time. There is a long silence. I hear Mia's breathing on the other end. She is 19. She is in college, pre-med because she wants to help people. She is a good girl. She has her grandfather's heart. Grandma, can I ask you something without you getting mad? Of course, sweetie. Ask whatever you want. Why now? Why after so many years did you decide not to help just now? I sit in the kitchen chair. The pan is still sizzling on the stove, but for a moment I ignore it. This question deserves an honest answer. Mia, do you know how much money I have given your dad in these 15 years? No, Grandma. We never talk about that at home. $120,000. Maybe more. I lost count a long time ago. $120,000 that came out of my pension. From the savings your grandfather left for me. From the life insurance I collected when he died. Money I should have used for my old age, for my needs, for my peace of mind. Grandma, I didn't know it was that much. I know, sweetie. No one knows because I never said it. Because every time your dad called me, I just said yes. Every time he needed something, I just paid. I became the automatic solution to every problem. And you know what happened, Mia? I stopped being a person. I stopped being Eleanor. I became Julian's mom, Mia's grandmother, Caroline's mother-in-law. But never myself. I hear a soft sob on the other end of the line. Grandma, I am so sorry. I haven't treated you like I should have either. I also only call you when I need something. When I need money for books or to go out with my friends. I am just like them. No, sweetie. You are different. You at least call me on my birthday. You at least ask me how I am every once in a while. You at least see me as a person and not a bank. But it isn't enough, Grandma. I haven't been fair to you. None of us have. I turn off the stove. The vegetables are cooked. The aroma fills the kitchen, but I am no longer hungry. I get up. I walk to the window. The orange cat is no longer on the fence. Mrs. Higgins is no longer on her balcony. The world continues its course, indifferent to my personal drama. Mia, can I tell you something I have never told anyone? Of course, Grandma. Anything. When your grandfather died, I was devastated. Not just because I loved him, but because I realized I no longer had a purpose. Your parents were married. You were small, but they took care of you. I was alone in this apartment wondering what I was still here for. And then your dad started asking for help. First a little, then more. And more. And I clung to that because it gave me a purpose. It made me feel necessary. It made me feel useful, Grandma. But being necessary is not the same as being loved, Mia. Being useful is not the same as being valued. It took me 20 years to understand that. It took a call at 2 a.m. demanding $9,000 to finally see it clearly. Your dad doesn't love me. He needs me. And there is a huge difference between those two things. Grandma, I do love you. I swear. I know, sweetie, and I love you. But I need you to understand something. What I am doing isn't to punish your dad. It isn't to make him suffer. It is to save myself. It is to recover what is left of my life before it is too late. What are you going to do, Grandma? I am going to live, Mia. I am going to live for me. I am going to use my money on myself. I am going to do the things I always wanted to do, but put off because there was always someone else who needed that money. I am going to travel. I am going to buy new clothes. I am going to fix up my apartment. I am going to go to the theater. I am going to eat in restaurants. I am going to live. That sounds fair, Grandma. I think you deserve it. Thank you, sweetie. That means a lot to me. Grandma, one last thing. Grandma Catherine already sent the money. Dad and Mom are going to get out today. They are coming back tomorrow. And they are going to be furious with you. I know, Mia. I am prepared. Do you need me to come see you? Do you want me to be there when they arrive? No, sweetie. This is something I have to face alone. But thank you for asking. Thank you for caring. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, my girl. Take care. I hang up. I stay standing by the window with the phone in my hand. The sun is already high. It is hot. It is a beautiful day, a perfect day to start over. I spend the rest of the day in a strange calm. I finish cooking my meal. I serve myself a generous plate. I eat slowly at my table, savoring every bite as if it were the first time I tasted real food. I do not turn on the television. I do not check the phone. I just eat in silence, listening to the sounds of my building. The woman upstairs dragging furniture, the children next door playing and laughing, the daily life that has always been there, but that I never stop to listen to. After eating, I wash the dishes. I dry each one with care. I put them away. I clean the stove until it shines. I sweep the kitchen floor. I do all these mundane tasks with an almost ceremonial attention, as if every action were an act of reclamation. This is my space. This is my life. These are my decisions. When I finish in the kitchen, I walk to my bedroom. I open the closet again. This time, I do not take out the box of receipts. I pull out the old suitcase that is in the back. The suitcase Arthur and I used for our trips. It is covered in dust. It has stickers from places we visited together. San Francisco, the Grand Canyon, Cape Cod, modest but happy trips. Trips we stopped taking when Julian was born because all our money went to diapers and milk and school and clothes. I put the suitcase on the bed. I open it. It smells stale, like stalled time. Inside is a scarf Arthur gave me on our last trip together. I take it out. I hold it against my chest. The smell is gone, but the memory is there. The memory of his hands putting it around my neck. The memory of his smile when he told me that color looked beautiful on me. I put the scarf away again. I close the suitcase. I leave it on the bed. Tomorrow I am going to start planning. I'm going to decide where I want to go. I'm going to use my money on myself. I am going to make the dreams come true that I kept in a drawer while I paid for the dreams of others. The phone vibrates. It is a message from Julian. He is out. He is free. Thanks to Catherine. Thanks to someone else solving his problem. The message says, "Mom, we are out. We had a horrible time because of you. I hope you are happy. We arrive in the city tomorrow, and you are going to have to give a lot of explanations. I cannot believe you did this to us." I do not respond. I block the number. I know he will find other ways to contact me, but for now, I need this silence. I need this space without his demands, without his complaints, without his voice telling me I am a bad mother. I block Caroline's number and Catherine's too. I leave only Mia's. She is the only one who deserves direct access to me right now. I sit on the bed. I look around my room. The walls that need paint, the bedside lamp that flickers sometimes, the worn rug next to the bed. Everything needs renovation. Everything needs attention. Just like me. I take my laptop. It is old. I bought it 5 years ago on sale. It is slow, but it works. I turn it on. I wait for it to load. I open the browser. I type in the search bar, Senior Travel Groups, USA. Dozens of results appear. Tours to Charleston, tours to Savannah, tours to Santa Fe, tours to the national parks. Beautiful places I always wanted to see, but that always stayed on the someday list. Someday when I have time. Someday when I have money. Someday that never came because there was always an emergency of Julian's to attend to. I click on one of the tours. Santa Fe, New Mexico. 10 days. Includes hotel, meals, transportation, guide, visits to ancient pueblos, traditional cooking classes, tours of art markets. It costs $3,200. It is expensive. It is a lot of money. It is more than I have spent on myself in the last 5 years combined. I click reserve. I fill out the form with my information. Name, age, email, phone. I get to the payment part. I stop. My finger is on the mouse. I just need to click. I just need to confirm the purchase. But something stops me. A little voice in my head. The same voice that has stopped me for years. The voice that says, what if Julian needs that money? What if there is a real emergency? What if you regret it? I close my eyes. I breathe deep. I hear another voice. A voice I had forgotten. Arthur's voice. The voice that told me every birthday, "Eleanor, you have to do something for yourself. You have to treat yourself. Life is short, my love. Don't wait until it is too late." I open my eyes. I click confirm purchase. I enter my credit card details. The one that no longer has Julian as an authorized user. The one that is only mine now. I click pay. Processing. 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 Purchase confirmed. I get an email. Booking confirmation. Santa Fe, New Mexico. 10 days. Departure in 3 weeks. Single room. All inclusive. My name on the ticket. Only my name. No one else. I feel something hot rolling down my cheeks. They are tears, but not of sadness. They are tears of liberation, of joy, of terror, of excitement. They are tears of a woman who has just done something only for herself for the first time in decades. I wipe my tears. I smile. I cannot stop smiling. I am going to Santa Fe. I am going to see new places. I am going to eat delicious food. I am going to walk through adobe streets. I am going to buy art. I am going to take photos. I am going to live. I close the laptop. I get out of bed. I walk to the mirror. I look at myself again. That 72-year-old woman stares back at me. But now there is something different in her eyes. There is light. There is hope. There is determination. I speak to myself out loud. "Eleanor, this is just the beginning. You are going to reclaim your life. You are going to be happy. You are going to live for yourself." The rest of the afternoon, I spend researching. I read about Santa Fe, about its traditions, its food, its art. I read travel blogs. I look at photos of Bandelier National Monument, of Taos Pueblo, of the markets full of colors. Each photo excites me more. Each description makes me wish the 3 weeks would fly by. When it gets dark, I prepare a simple dinner. Toast with cheese, an apple, chamomile tea. I sit in my favorite armchair. I turn on the television. It's a Wonderful Life is playing. I have seen it 1,000 times, but I don't care. I leave it on while I eat my quiet dinner. At 9 at night, I get ready to sleep. I put on my comfortable pajamas. I brush my teeth. I put cream on my hands like I do every night. I get into bed. I turn off the light. The darkness wraps around me softly. I think about tomorrow. Julian and Caroline are going to return. They are going to come here. They are going to knock on my door. They are going to demand explanations. They are going to scream. They are going to cry. They are going to use every manipulation tactic they know. They are going to tell me I am a bad mother, that I am selfish, that I am going to die alone. But I know the truth. I know that what I did was not bad. It was necessary. It was urgent. It was the only way to save myself before disappearing completely into the needs of others. I fall asleep with that certainty. I fall asleep in peace. I wake up with the sun entering through the window. It is Saturday. It is 7 in the morning. I get up rested. I didn't have nightmares. I didn't wake up at midnight with anxiety. I slept deeply like a person without emotional debts. I make coffee, toast. I sit at my table. I eat while looking out the window. The orange cat is back on the fence. Mrs. Higgins waters her plants. Everything is normal. Everything is as it should be. At 10 in the morning, there is a knock on the door. Loud pounding, insistent, annoying. I know who it is. I walk to the door slowly. There is no rush. I breathe deep. I prepare myself. I open it. Julian and Caroline are standing in front of me. Julian has a face red with fury. Caroline has eyes swollen from crying. Behind them are suitcases. They came straight from the airport. Julian speaks first. His voice is a contained scream. "How could you, Mom? How could you leave us stranded like that? Do you have any idea what we went through? Do you have any idea of the humiliation?" "Good morning, Julian." "Good morning, Caroline. Come in." They stay standing without moving. They expected an apology. They expected tears. They expected the mom who always caves. They did not expect this calm. "Are you going to let us in or what?" Caroline says with a cutting voice. I step aside. They enter, pushing the suitcases. They stand in the middle of my living room, looking at me as if I were a stranger. And perhaps I am. Perhaps the Eleanor they knew no longer exists. "Sit down," I tell them. "We need to talk." "We don't want to sit," Julian says. "We want an explanation. We want to know what the hell happened to you. Why did you decide to ruin our vacation? Why did you decide to make us look like criminals? I sit in my armchair. I look at them. I really see them for the first time in a long while. Julian, with his expensive clothes, his brand-name shoes, his watch that I know cost more than $2,000. Caroline with her designer bag, her expensive sunglasses on her head, her ivory dress that probably cost more than what I spend on clothes in a year. I see them, and I see two people who have never had to worry about money, who have never had to choose between paying the electric bill or buying medicine, who have never had to wear the same clothes for years because they cannot afford new ones. Julian walks from one side of my living room to the other like a caged animal. His steps are heavy, furious. Caroline sits on the edge of the sofa with her arms crossed, looking at me with that expression of superiority she has always had, as if I were the maid who committed an unforgivable error. I am going to ask you one more time, Mom, Julian says, stopping in front of me. Why didn't you send the money? Why did you leave us locked up there like criminals? What kind of mother does that? I adjust myself in my armchair. I cross my hands on my lap. I look them in the eye without blinking. My voice comes out calm, firm, without a tremor. The kind of mother who is tired. The kind of mother who finally realized she has spent 15 years being used. The kind of mother who decided her life matters too. Used, Caroline repeats with a bitter laugh. How dramatic, Eleanor. No one has used you. You have helped your family because that is how it is done. Because that is what mothers do. Mothers also deserve respect, Caroline. They also deserve consideration. They also deserve to be treated like people and not cash dispensing machines. Oh, please, she says, rolling her eyes. You have always had more than enough. You have always been able to help us. Why now, all of a sudden, do you turn into this selfish person? I get up from the armchair. I walk to my bedroom. They stay in the living room, not knowing what to do. I return with the shoebox, the box containing all the receipts, all the checks, all the evidence of 15 years of giving without receiving. I put the box on the coffee table. I open it. I take out the papers one by one. I lay them on the table, forming a mosaic of sacrifice. Do you see this? This is the check for your wedding. $15,000. This is the receipt for the down payment on your house. $30,000. This is the transfer for the car. $8,000. This is the trip to Europe. $6,000. This is the laptop. The furniture. The tuitions. The emergencies. The vacations. The whims. Julian approaches the table. He looks at the papers with a furrowed brow. Caroline remains on the sofa, but I can see her face change color. I keep taking out papers. I keep putting evidence on the table. Each receipt is a stab in my heart, but it is also a liberation. It is the truth exposed. It is the reality I never wanted to face. $120,000, I say finally. That is what I have given you in 15 years. $120,000 that came out of my pension, from your father's savings, from the life insurance that was supposed to protect my old age. Julian picks up one of the papers. He looks at it as if it were the first time seeing it. Maybe it is. Maybe he never stopped to think where the money came from. Maybe for him it was always something infinite, something that simply existed without consequence. Mom, he starts to say. But I interrupt him. Do you know how many times you have invited me to dinner at your house in these 15 years, Julian? 3 times. 3 times in 15 years. Do you know how many times you have called me just to ask how I am, without asking for anything? I can count them on one hand. Do you know when was the last time I received a birthday gift that wasn't bought in a rush at a gas station? I don't remember because it has been too many years. That isn't fair, Caroline says, standing up from the sofa. We have busy lives. We have responsibilities. We can't be calling you all the time. But you can call me when you need money. Then you have time. Then you remember I exist. Julian drops the paper on the table. He runs his hands through his hair. I see something in his face I hadn't seen before. Is it shame? Is it guilt? I am not sure. Mom, I know we have depended on you a lot. I admit it. But I always thought you did it because you wanted to. You never told me it bothered you. You never said no. And that is the problem, Julian. I never said no because I was afraid. Afraid you would stop calling. Afraid you would cut me out of your life. afraid of being completely alone. So I kept saying yes, I kept paying, I kept sacrificing, until I became a shadow, until I forgot who Eleanor was beyond being your mom. I walked to the window. I need space. I need air. The orange cat is still on its fence. Mrs. Higgins is folding laundry on her balcony. Life goes on outside regardless of the drama occurring in my living room. When your father died, I continue speaking without turning to see them. I was destroyed, not only because I lost him, but because I realized I no longer had a purpose. You two were married. Mia was small, but you took care of her. You didn't need me anymore, or so I thought. But then you started asking for help and I clung to that. It gave me a reason to go on. It made me feel useful. It made me feel necessary. I turn to face them again. The tears finally start to fall, but I don't wipe them away. Let them see. Let them see the pain I have carried in silence for years. But necessary is not the same as loved. Useful is not the same as valued. It took me 20 years to understand the difference. It took a call at 2 a.m. demanding $9,000 to finally wake up. Caroline sits down again. Her expression of superiority has vanished. Now she just looks uncomfortable. She looks elsewhere, at the wall, at any place that isn't my face. Julian sits too. He sinks into the sofa with slumped shoulders. He seems smaller suddenly, more human, more vulnerable. I didn't know you felt that way, Mom, he says, in a low voice. I never imagined, because you never asked, because you never stopped to think how all this affected me. Because for you, I was always the strong mom who could handle everything, who always had money, who always had a solution. I sit in my armchair again. Tiredness hits me suddenly. It isn't physical tiredness, it is emotional tiredness. It is years of endurance falling off my shoulders all at the same time. 3 days ago I canceled your authorized card, Julian. I canceled the monthly transfer of $2,500 I sent you. I blocked your access to my account, and yesterday I booked a trip to Santa Fe. A 10-day trip, a trip that cost $3,200. A trip I am going to take alone, for me, without feeling guilty. The silence that follows is dense, heavy. I can hear the wall clock ticking the seconds. I can hear the traffic on the street. I can hear my own breathing. You can't do that, Caroline says finally. That transfer, we depend on that money. We have expenses. We have the mortgage. You have jobs. You have salaries. You have the ability to live within your means. What you don't have is a right to my money. Not anymore. But Mom, Julian says, what are we going to do? We can't pay everything without your help. You are going to have to learn. You are going to have to adjust. You are going to have to do what millions of people do every day. Live on what you earn. This is ridiculous, Caroline says, standing up again. Eleanor, you are his mother. It is your responsibility. My responsibility was to raise him, feed him, educate him, love him. I did all that. Julian is 40 years old, Caroline. 40. My responsibility ended a long time ago. What I have been doing is too much. It is unsustainable. It is self-destructive. I stand up too. I face them. My voice rises in volume for the first time in this conversation. And another thing. Don't ever speak to me as if I were your employee again. Don't ever treat me as if my only value were financial. If you want to have a relationship with me, it is going to be a real relationship. With respect, with reciprocity, with true love, or there is going to be no relationship. Julian stands up. He walks toward me. For a moment I think he's going to hug me, but he stops halfway, as if there were an invisible wall between us. Mom, what if we need you? What if there is a real emergency? Then you are going to have to solve it like adults. You are going to have to use your savings. You are going to have to get a loan. You are going to have to make sacrifices, like I have done for years. Caroline grabs her bag. She walks to the door. She turns before leaving. You are going to regret this, Eleanor. You are going to end up alone. You are going to realize you need your family more than your family needs you. Her words are designed to hurt me, to make me doubt, to make me feel guilty. And they do hurt, but not as much as it hurt waking up every morning feeling empty. Not as much as it hurt watching my bank account dwindle while my purpose evaporated. Maybe you are right, Caroline. Maybe I end up alone. But I prefer to be alone and at peace than accompanied and miserable. I prefer to be alone with dignity than surrounded by people who only see me as a resource. Caroline leaves, slamming the door. Julian stays standing in the middle of my living room. We look at each other in silence. I see tears in his eyes. They are the first tears I've seen from him since he was a child. "I'm sorry, Mom," he says with a broken voice. "I'm sorry I didn't realize. I'm sorry I used you. I'm sorry I didn't value you. I am sorry too, Julian. I am sorry I didn't set boundaries sooner. I am sorry I allowed this to go so far. I am sorry I wasn't more honest with you about how I felt." He comes closer. This time he does hug me. It is a clumsy hug, uncomfortable, filled with years of emotional distance. But it is something. It is a beginning, or maybe it is an end. I am not sure yet. He pulls away. He wipes his tears with the back of his hand. "I need time to process this, Mom. I need to think. I don't know what I need." "Take all the time you need, Julian. I am not going anywhere. Well, I am going to Santa Fe in 3 weeks, but after that, I will be here, waiting to see if we can build something real, something honest, something not based on money." He nods. He walks to the door. He stops with his hand on the knob. "Mom, I do love you. I mean it, not just because I need your money. I love you for real. I love you too, Julian. I have always loved you. That is why it is so important that this changes, because love cannot be unilateral. Love requires balance." He nods again. He leaves. I hear his steps going down the stairs. I hear him walking away. I stay standing in the middle of my living room, surrounded by papers, surrounded by evidence, surrounded by my past. I close the door. I lean against it. I let the tears flow freely now. I cry for the lost years. I cry for the damaged relationship. I cry for the woman I was and no longer want to be. I cry for the woman I will be and haven't met yet. I cry until there are no more tears, until my body is empty of everything except exhaustion. I crawl to my bedroom. I throw myself on the bed without taking off my clothes. I close my eyes. I sleep deeply. I wake up hours later. It is already night. The room is dark. I get up slowly. My body aches as if I had run a marathon. I walk to the kitchen. I make tea. I sit at the table with the steaming mug between my hands. The phone vibrates. It is a message from Mia. "Grandma," Dad called me. He told me what happened. "I am proud of you. I know it was hard, but you did the right thing. I love you." I smile for the first time all day. I reply, "Thank you, sweetie. Your support means everything to me. I love you too." I drink my tea slowly. I look out the window into the night. The city lights shine in the distance. I hear the constant murmur of traffic. Life continues. The world keeps turning. And I am still here. Stronger, clearer, more myself. The following days pass in a kind of fog. Julian doesn't call. Caroline doesn't call. It is the longest silence we have had in 15 years. At first, it scares me. It makes me doubt. Did I do the right thing? Was I too harsh? Did I lose them forever? But then I remember the box of receipts. I remember the $120,000. I remember the sleepless nights worrying about how I was going to pay my own rent after sending them money. I remember the loneliness of birthdays spent alone, and the guilt fades. 1 week after the confrontation, I am at the grocery store buying vegetables when I see an older woman. She must be near 80. She is alone, choosing tomatoes with care, putting them in her canvas bag. She has completely white hair pulled back in a bun. She wears thick glasses. Her clothes are simple but clean, well cared for. I watch her while she pays for her groceries. She smiles at the cashier. They exchange a few words. She laughs. It is a genuine laugh. Free. She walks away slowly but with dignity, with purpose. I think, I want to be like her. I want to reach 80 years old, laughing at the grocery store, feeling complete, feeling at peace. I do not want to reach 80 years old, resentful, empty, broken, for having given everything without keeping anything for myself. I finish my shopping. I return to my apartment. I put everything away with care. I make my lunch. I eat calmly. I wash the dishes. Everything is routine. Everything is normal. But there is something different. There is lightness. There is room to breathe. In the afternoon, I sit with my laptop. I review the itinerary for the Santa Fe trip. I read about every place we are going to visit: Bandelier, the ancient cliff dwellings in the canyon; Taos Pueblo, the multi-story adobe buildings; the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum; the art markets; the traditional cooking classes. Each description excites me more. I make a list of things I need for the trip: comfortable clothes for walking, good shoes, a new backpack because the one I have is frayed, a sun hat, sunscreen, a camera because the one on my phone isn't very good. I look at the list. Everything adds up to near $500. The Julian of before would have used that on one dinner. The Caroline of before would have spent that on a pair of shoes. But for me, it is an investment. It is taking care of myself. It is preparing for something that is only mine. The next day, I go shopping. I go to an outdoor apparel store. A young saleswoman approaches. "How can I help you, ma'am?" I tell her about my trip. Her eyes light up. How exciting. My grandma travels alone too and says they are the best experiences of her life. She helps me choose comfortable pants, shirts that breathe, a vest with many pockets. Everything is practical, but good quality. I try everything on. I look in the mirror. I look like a traveler, like an adventurer, like someone who is alive. I pay with my card without feeling guilt, without hearing the little voice that says, "That money could be sent to Julian." That voice finally fell silent, finally went away. Then I go to a shoe store. I find ones perfect for walking. The salesman explains about arch support, cushioning, durability. I try them on. I walk around the store. They are comfortable. They are perfect. They cost $150. 6 months ago, I would have walked out of the store. I would have said my old shoes still worked. I would have saved those $150 for Julian's next emergency. But today I buy them. I buy them without hesitation. Back home, with my bags in hand, I feel different. I feel lighter, stronger, more present, as if I were finally inhabiting my own life instead of observing it from the outside. That night I receive a call from Mia. "Grandma, can I come see you tomorrow? I want to talk to you." "Of course, sweetie. Come whenever you want." The next day, Mia arrives early. She brings pastries from a bakery she knows I like. I hug her tight. She smells of fresh perfume, of youth, of the future. We sit at the kitchen table. I make coffee. We cut the pastries. We eat in silence for a moment. Comfortable. Easy. "Grandma, I came to ask for your forgiveness," she says finally. "Forgiveness? Why, sweetie?" "For having been part of the problem, for having asked for money so many times, for not having valued what you did for us, for not seeing that you were sacrificing yourself." I take her hand across the table. Her fingers are young, smooth, without the age spots that cover mine. "Mia, you are different. You at least call me. You at least ask how I am. You see me as a person." "But it isn't enough, Grandma. I should have done more. I should have defended you when Mom spoke badly of you. I should have told Dad that he was abusing your generosity. You are his daughter. It is complicated to be in the middle. I understand." She shakes her head. Tears start to roll down her cheeks. "No, Grandma. I don't want excuses. I want you to know that I realize it. I want you to know that I admire what you did. I want you to know that if I were your age, I hope to have your courage." I get up. I round the table. I hug her from behind. I lean my cheek against her head. "You are a good girl, Mia. You have a beautiful heart. Don't let anyone change that." She turns in the chair. She hugs me tight. We cry together. But these tears are different. They are tears of real connection, of true love, of something that is not contaminated by money or obligation. When we pull apart, I show her my new clothes. I tell her about the trip. Her eyes shine with genuine excitement. "Grandma, that's wonderful. You are going to have an incredible experience. You have to send me photos of everything." "I will, sweetie. I promise to keep you updated on every moment." She stays the whole morning. We talk about her school, about her dreams of being a doctor, about her boyfriend who seems to be a nice boy, about her friends, about life. We talk like we haven't talked in years, like grandmother and granddaughter, like friends, like women. Before leaving, she gives me an envelope. "Don't open it until I leave." I hug her again. I watch her go down the stairs. I see her disappear. I return to my apartment. I open the envelope. Inside is a handmade card. It has flowers painted with watercolors. Inside it says, "Grandma, here is $200. It is all I have saved. I want you to use it on your trip. Buy yourself something nice. Eat in a fancy restaurant. Do it for me. Do it for you. I love you more than words can express. Your granddaughter, who admires you, Mia." I sit in the armchair with the card in my hands. I read the words over and over. $200. For a college student, it is a fortune. It is sacrifice. It is real love. I cry again. But these are good tears. Tears that heal, tears that rebuild. I put the card in a special place, on my nightstand, next to Arthur's photo, next to the things I love most, the things I value most. The days pass. The date of the trip approaches. Julian has not called. It has been 2 weeks since the confrontation. 2 weeks of silence. Sometimes I wonder if he is ever going to call. If we are ever going to be able to rebuild something. But then I remember that I cannot control his decisions. I can only control mine. And my decision is to live. My decision is to be happy. My decision is to honor Arthur's memory by being the woman he wanted me to be. A complete woman. A happy woman. A free woman. 3 days before the trip, I am packing my suitcase when there is a knock on the door. I open it. It is Julian. He is alone. No Caroline. He has a tired face, red eyes as if he hasn't slept well. "Hi, Mom." "Hello, Julian. Can I come in?" I step aside. He enters slowly. He sits on the sofa without me asking him to. Julian sits on the edge of the sofa, hands between his knees, staring at the floor. He has the posture of someone defeated, of someone who has been thinking a lot, of someone who is finally facing uncomfortable truths. I sit in my armchair. I say nothing. I wait. I have learned that silence sometimes says more than 1,000 words. I have learned that sometimes the best thing is to let the other person find their way to the conversation. After what seems like an eternity, Julian looks up. His eyes meet mine. I see something there I hadn't seen in years. Vulnerability, honesty, maybe even shame. "I've been thinking a lot, Mom. These 2 weeks have been the hardest of my life. Caroline is furious. She says you ruined our lives. She says you are selfish and cruel. But I can't stop thinking about everything you said. About all those papers you put on the table. About the $120,000. He pauses. He runs his hands over his face. When he speaks again, his voice cracks. "I had never added it up, Mom. I never stopped to think how much we had asked you for over the years. For me, it was always just another help, just another favor. I never thought about the total. I never thought about what it was costing you." I bite my tongue. I want to interrupt. I want to say I know. That's why I did what I did. But I hold back. I let him continue. "This is important. This is necessary. I talked to my boss a week ago. I asked him for a raise. He told me it isn't possible right now. So I went home and sat down with Caroline. I told her we had to make a budget, that we had to see exactly how much we earn and how much we spend. She didn't want to. She said it wasn't necessary. That you were going to come to your senses. That everything would go back to normal." He makes another pause. This one longer. I see how he struggles with the words, how he looks for a way to say something that clearly hurts. But I insisted, "Mom, we made the budget, and you know what we discovered? That without your monthly transfer, without your constant help, we are in the red. That we have been living way beyond our means for years. That the only reason we haven't gone under is because you have been sustaining our life with your money." He gets up from the sofa, walks to the window, stays standing there, looking out, hands in his pockets. I felt like a failure, Mom. Like a 40-year-old man who can't support his family without his mother's help. Like a child who never grew up. Like someone who has been using the person who loves him most. I get up too. I walk toward him. I stand by his side in front of the window. The orange cat is on the fence again. Always there, constant, reliable. "You aren't a failure, Julian. You are someone who made mistakes. You are someone who got used to having a safety net that was too comfortable. You are someone who needs to learn to live within his means. But you are not a failure." He turns toward me. Tears run freely down his face now. He doesn't try to hide them. He doesn't try to wipe them away. Mom, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago. Forgive me. Forgive me for using you. Forgive me for not valuing you. Forgive me for treating you like a bank instead of my mother. Forgive me for all the forgotten birthdays, for all the ignored calls, for all the times I only showed up when I needed something. I hug him. I hug him tight like when he was a boy, like when he fell off his bike, like when he cried for his father. I hug him and feel his body shake with sobs. I forgive you, Julian. I forgive you because I love you, because you are my son, because I know you can change, because I know deep down you have your father's heart. We stay there hugged for a long time. I don't know how many minutes pass. It doesn't matter. This moment is important. This moment is healing. This moment is the beginning of something new. When we finally separate, Julian wipes his face with his shirt sleeve. He breathes deep. He looks at me with red but clear eyes. Mom, I want you to know something. I talked to Caroline last night. I told her things have to change, that we are going to sell the new car and buy a used one, that we are going to cancel the gym memberships we never use, that we are going to cook at home instead of eating out 5 times a week, that we are going to live on what we earn. And what did she say? She wasn't happy. She said, "You are brainwashing me, that I am choosing you over her." But I told her it isn't about choosing. It is about doing the right thing. It is about being responsible adults. I sit in my armchair again. Julian sits on the sofa. There is less tension now. There is more openness. There is possibility. Julian, I want you to understand something. What I did wasn't to punish you. It was to save myself. I reached a point where if I kept giving without receiving, if I kept sacrificing without limit, I was going to disappear completely. I was going to become nothing. No one. I understand, Mom. I understand now. And I want you to know I am going to work on this. I am going to work on being a better son. Not just financially, but in everything. I want to invite you to dinner. I want to call you just to know how you are. I want you to know my family for real. Not just when we need something. I would like that very much. I see your suitcase there. Is your trip soon? In 3 days. 10 days in Santa Fe. He smiles. It is the first genuine smile I've seen in years. Can I ask you something, Mom? Are you excited? I am terrified. I haven't traveled alone in years. I haven't done something just for me in years. But yes, I am excited. I am ready to live a little. You deserve it, Mom. You deserve that and much more. We spend the rest of the afternoon talking. We talk about real things. About how he feels about his job, about his fears, about his dreams, about Mia and how proud he is of her, about Caroline and the problems they have in their marriage. We talk like we haven't talked in decades. When he leaves, it is already night. He hugs me again at the door. This hug is different. It is lighter. It is more honest. It is the hug of a son who finally sees his mother as a person. Mom, one last thing. Can I take you to the airport? The question surprises me. It catches me off guard. I feel tears forming in my eyes. I would love that, Julian. I would love that very much. He leaves. I close the door. I lean against it. I smile in the darkness of my apartment. Maybe there is hope. Maybe it is possible to rebuild. Maybe the pain was worth it. The next 2 days, I spend finishing preparing everything for the trip. I go to the bank to take out cash. I go to the pharmacy to buy medicine just in case. I go to the supermarket to fill my refrigerator with food I can eat when I return. I do everything calmly, carefully, enjoying every step of the process. The night before the trip, I can almost not sleep. It isn't bad anxiety. It is anticipation. It is excitement. It is the sensation of standing on the threshold of something new, of something important, of something transformative. I get up early. I shower calmly. I dress in my new travel clothes. I look in the mirror. I look different. I look younger. I look alive. The doorbell rings at 9 in the morning. It is Julian. He comes alone. He carries my suitcase to his car. He drives to the airport while I look out the window. The city passes fast. The streets I know by heart. The familiar buildings. Everything looks different today. Everything looks full of possibility. At the airport, Julian insists on accompanying me as far as he can. He helps me with check-in. He helps me with my bag. We walk together toward the security zone. "This is where I say goodbye, Mom," he says when we reach the line. "Thank you for bringing me, Julian. It means a lot to me." He hugs me tight. "Mom, enjoy every moment. Take lots of photos. Eat everything you want. Buy everything you like. Just, please, live." "I will, my love. I promise you. And Mom, one more thing. When you get back, I want you to come to dinner at the house. A real dinner. I am going to cook. We are going to sit all together. We are going to talk. We are going to be a real family." "I would love that, Julian." He kisses my forehead. He leaves. I watch him walk away through the airport crowd. I see him turn once to wave goodbye. I see him disappear. I go through security. I arrive at my gate. I sit to wait. I take out my phone. I have a message from Mia. "Have a good trip, Grandma. You are my hero. I love you to the moon and back." I have a message from Julian. "Thank you, Mom, for everything. But above all, thank you for teaching me that it is never too late to change." I smile. I put the phone away. I look around the airport. I see families. I see couples. I see solo travelers like me. Everyone going somewhere. Everyone looking for something. Everyone living. They call my flight. I get in line. I board the plane. I find my window seat. I buckle my seatbelt. I close my eyes as the plane starts to move. I think of Arthur. I think of how proud he would be of me. I think of how he would be smiling, telling me, "It was about time, Eleanor. It was about time you lived for yourself." The plane takes off. I feel my stomach drop. I open my eyes. I look out the window. The city becomes small beneath me. Houses look like toys. Cars look like ants. Everything becomes insignificant from this height. The clouds wrap around us. Everything becomes white. Then we break through the cloud layer, and the infinitely blue sky appears. The sun shines with an intensity that hurts the eyes. I close the shade halfway. I settle into my seat. I smile. I am flying. I am going towards something new. I am alive. The flight lasts 4 hours. I read a magazine. I drink orange juice. I look out the window. I think about everything that has happened in the last 3 weeks. I think about the call at 2 a.m. that changed everything. I think about the decision I made. I think about the pain, the tears, the confrontation. I think about the liberation. We arrive in Santa Fe at midday. The airport is small, welcoming. I walk out with my suitcase. The heat hits me immediately. It is a dry heat, different from the city. It smells of sagebrush, of mountains, of something ancient and deep. There is a man with a sign that says the name of the tour company. I approach. He welcomes me with a huge smile. There are 6 other people waiting, all seniors, all traveling alone, all with that same expression of excitement mixed with nervousness. We get into a van. The guide introduces himself. His name is Adrian. He is about 50. Kind face, calm voice. He tells us about Santa Fe as we drive toward the hotel. He talks about the Pueblo history, the food, the traditions kept alive. The hotel is beautiful, adobe style, with a central courtyard full of flowers. My room is small but perfect. It has a comfortable bed, a clean bathroom, a window looking out onto the courtyard. I unpack my suitcase calmly. I hang my clothes. I arrange my shoes. I mark my territory. That afternoon we have the first group meeting. We sit in the hotel courtyard. Adrian explains the itinerary for the next 10 days. Each day sounds better than the last. Ruins, canyons, markets, cooking classes, art workshops. The other travelers introduce themselves. There is a woman named Stella. She is 68, from Chicago. Just widowed a year ago. This is her first trip alone. There is a man named Victor. He is 75, from Seattle. Says he always wanted to see the Southwest, but his wife preferred the beach. There is a woman named Margaret. She is 70, from Boston. Never married, dedicated her life to caring for her elderly parents. Both died last year. Now she is discovering who she is without them. Each story is different, but they all have something in common. We are all here looking for something. We are all here trying to live. When my turn comes, I introduce myself. I am Eleanor. I am 72 years old. I am from the city. I am a widow. I have a son and a granddaughter. And I am here because I decided my life belongs to me. I say no more. I don't need to say more. Everyone nods as if they understood perfectly, as if everyone had their own version of my story. That night we dined together at a restaurant on the plaza. We tried tamales, green chile stew, blue corn enchiladas. Everything is delicious. Everything is new. Everything is an adventure. I laugh more at that dinner than I have laughed in months, maybe in years. The following days pass in a beautiful mix of experiences. We visit Bandelier National Monument. We climb the wooden ladders to the ancient cave dwellings. From up there I see the whole canyon. I see mountains stretching as far as the eye can see. I feel the wind on my face. I feel the sun on my skin. I feel small, but also immense. Adrian tells us about the ancestral Puebloans, about their advanced civilization, about how they built this city in the canyon nearly 1,000 years ago. I like that idea of circular time. Nothing really ends. Everything transforms. I am transforming too. I am returning to myself. We visit Taos Pueblo. The adobe structures are more impressive than I imagined. Brown, massive, frozen in time against the blue sky. We see the Rio Grande Gorge. The water looks like a ribbon far below. I laugh like a child, feeling the vertigo and the thrill. Stella takes a picture of me. I look happy. We visit artisan workshops. We see how they make pottery, polishing the black clay until it shines like glass. We see how they weave rugs on looms. I buy gifts, for Mia, for Julian, for myself. I buy a hand-carved wooden owl. It is painted with impossible colors, turquoise, pink, and yellow. The artisan tells me the owl represents wisdom. It represents seeing in the dark. I hold it carefully. This owl is mine. This owl is me. We take the traditional cooking class. We learn to make red chili sauce. It has so many ingredients. Each one must be roasted, ground, mixed at the exact moment. The cook tells us the sauce is like life, complicated, requires patience. But the result is worth every second of effort. We spend the evenings on the plaza. We sit on the benches under the trees. We watch families walking. We watch children running. We watch couples in love. We watch life in all its splendor. One night, Margaret tells me her full story. She tells me how she dedicated 40 years to caring for her parents, how she never had children because there was no time, how when they died she felt lost, empty, without purpose. But then I realized something, she tells me. I realized I was still alive. I still had time. I could still do things. This is my 5th trip in 2 years, she says with pride. And every trip gives me back a piece of myself, a piece I thought was lost forever. I hug her. I cry on her shoulder. She cries on mine. We don't need words. We understand. We understand what it is to recover oneself. We understand what it is to be reborn after having been dead in life. The last days of the trip go by too fast. We visit the Loreto Chapel with its miraculous staircase. It has no center support. It has survived for over a century. I put my hand on the wood. I feel the smooth texture. I feel the faith holding it up. I think, I am going to survive too. I am going to keep standing. The last night we have a farewell dinner. We all share what this trip meant to us. Victor says he found joy again. Stella says she found courage. Margaret says she found community. When my turn comes, I stand up. I found Eleanor, I say. I found the woman I had forgotten existed. I found the woman who has a right to be happy. And I am not going to lose her again. Everyone applauds. Some cry. Adrian tells us we are his favorite group of the year. The day of return, I arrive at the airport loaded with souvenirs, gifts, photos. My suitcase weighs more, but I feel lighter. The flight back I spend looking at the photos on my camera. There are the ruins against the sky, the gorge bridge, the markets full of color. There is a photo of me in front of the adobe church. I look happy. I look complete. I look like me. I land at the airport at sunset. I get my bag. I go out to the arrivals area. There is Julian. And next to him is Mia, both holding balloons that say, "Welcome home." I run toward them. The 3 of us hug. It is a long, tight, real hug. Mia tells me I look radiant. Julian tells me I look 10 years younger. I tell them I feel reborn. In the car on the way home, I tell them everything. I show them photos. I talk about my new friends. I talk about the places I saw. I talk about the Eleanor I rediscovered. They take me to my apartment. Julian carries my suitcase all the way up. Mia opens the windows to let in fresh air. Both stay for a while. We drink tea. We eat the biscoquitos anís cookies I brought from Santa Fe. We talk, we laugh, we are family. Before leaving, Julian reminds me. Dinner is this Saturday, Mom. At my house. At 7. You don't have to bring anything. Just you. I will be there, Julian. I promise. They leave. I stay alone in my apartment. But this loneliness is different. It isn't emptiness. It is fullness. It is peace. It is freedom. I unpack slowly. I take out my dirty clothes. I take out the gifts. I take out the wooden owl. I put it on my nightstand next to Arthur's photo. They look good together, the past and the present. I shower. I put on my pajamas. I get into bed. I close my eyes. I think about everything that has happened since that call at 2 in the morning. I think about the pain. I think about the decision. I think about the transformation. I think about the Eleanor I was, the one who said yes to everything, the one who sacrificed without limit. That Eleanor no longer exists. She died sometime in the last few weeks, and that is okay. I think about the Eleanor I am now, the one who sets boundaries, the one who values herself. This Eleanor is just being born, but she is already stronger. She is already clearer. She is already more real. I open my eyes. I look at the ceiling. I speak out loud as if Arthur could hear me. I did it, my love. I finally did it. I finally put myself first. Saturday arrives. I get ready with care. I put on a peach-colored dress I bought in Santa Fe. I do my hair. I put on perfume. I look in the mirror. I look good. I look happy. I look dignified. I arrive at Julian's house at 7 sharp. I knock on the door. Julian opens. He is wearing an apron. It smells of home cooking. He hugs me. Welcome, Mom. I enter. The table is set. There are flowers in the center. Candles are lit. Mia is helping in the kitchen. Caroline is sitting in the living room. She looks uncomfortable, but she stands up when I enter. Hello, Eleanor, she says with a neutral voice. Hello, Caroline. I respond with the same tone. The dinner is delicious. Julian cooked roast chicken with rosemary and roasted vegetables. He made rice. He made a salad. Everything is perfect. We eat together. At first, the conversation is tense, forced, but little by little it softens. Mia talks about her classes. Julian talks about a new project at work. He talks about how he is learning to manage his money better, how they sold the luxury SUV and bought a sensible sedan, how they are eating at home more. Even Caroline talks a little. She says she started looking for a job, that she has been at home too long, that she needs something of her own. She doesn't look at me when she says this, but she says it, and it is something. After dinner, we stay in the living room. I drink tea. They drink coffee. I show them the printed photos from Santa Fe. I tell them stories behind every image. When I leave, Julian walks me to the car. Thanks for coming, Mom. I know it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, Julian. But it was important. And I am willing to keep trying if you are too. I am, Mom. I promise you. We are going to be a better family. I hug him one last time. I drive home with a full heart. It isn't perfect. There is still pain. There is still work to do. But there is hope. There is possibility. There is real love trying to bloom. That night before sleeping, I write in my journal. I write about the trip. I write about the dinner. I write about everything I have learned. And at the end, I write this. Today, I do not need permission to live. Today, I do not need to sacrifice myself to be loved. Today, I understand that true love does not cost everything. True love gives and receives. True love respects and values. I close the journal. I turn off the light. I fall asleep smiling. Tomorrow is a new day, and I am a new Eleanor. An Eleanor who finally loves herself as much as she loves others. An Eleanor who is finally alive. The wedding is still 10 days away, and my daughter-in-law, her parents, and her siblings are already living in my apartment. That was the exact thought that went through my head when I opened the door to my own home and saw Chloe hanging her dresses in my closet, her mother Brenda rearranging my living room furniture, her father Gary smoking on my non-smoking balcony, and her siblings Kyle and Madison laughing in my kitchen like they owned the place. I froze in the doorway, keys still in my hand, feeling like I'd stepped into some alternate dimension. Chloe turned around, gave me that sweet, perfect smile she always uses, and with all the calm in the world said, "Oh, Eleanor, hi, come on in. Make yourself at home. In my house." She was welcoming me into my own house. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes for a second, and when I opened them, they were all still there, moving through my space as if I were the visitor. Something inside me shuddered, a silent alarm I tried to ignore. But let me back up a little, because none of this makes sense if you don't understand who I am. My name is Eleanor. I'm 67 years old, and I earned every square inch of this apartment with my own hard work. I worked for 40 years in management for a clothing import company, got up at 5 in the morning every single day for decades, saved every penny, and when I was finally able to retire 2 years ago, I bought this place. It's not a palace, but it's mine. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a large kitchen with an east-facing window that gets the morning sunday. It's in a quiet neighborhood, a 6th-floor walk-up, but with a beautiful view of the city skyline. Every piece of furniture, every curtain, every plate in the cabinet, I chose. I lived my whole life in rentals, moving every time the landlords raised the rent, and I swore that before I died, I would have a place no one could take from me. And I did it. My son, Nathan, is my whole world. I raised him alone after his father left us when he was just 3 years old. It was hard, very hard, but we made it. Nathan studied engineering, got a good job, and 6 months ago he told me he'd met someone special, Chloe. A 32-year-old woman, an administrator, like me, with a radiant smile and impeccable manners. The first time she came to dinner, she brought flowers and a chocolate cake. She called me Eleanor with respect, praised my apartment, asked about my health. I liked her, I'm not going to lie. She seemed polite, hard-working, different from the other short-term girlfriends Nathan had brought around. When he told me they were getting married, I felt a mix of joy and nostalgia. My little boy was becoming a husband. "Mom, I want you to be happy for me," Nathan told me that night, taking my hands. "I am, son. I am." And I was. I really was. The wedding preparations began with enthusiasm. Nathan and Chloe decided on a simple ceremony, just close family and friends, in a small rental hall he booked. I offered to help with whatever I could, though my retirement budget doesn't allow for big luxuries. Chloe always said not to worry, that they had everything under control. I met her family a month after the engagement. Brenda, her mother, was a large woman in her 60s with a powerful voice that filled any room. Gary, her father, was quiet, almost invisible, nodding at everything his wife said. Kyle, the older brother, was 35 and worked on various projects, according to him, though he never specified what. Madison, the younger sister, was 28, wore expensive clothes, and talked nonstop about luxury brands I didn't even recognize. That first family dinner was awkward. Brenda criticized my chicken, saying it needed salt. Gary fell asleep on my sofa after dessert. Kyle asked for the Wi-Fi password, and when I gave it to him, he immediately logged on and spent the rest of the night staring at his phone. Madison took pictures of my entire apartment for her Instagram without even asking my permission. Nathan didn't notice anything strange. He was so in love that he interpreted any red flag as wedding nerves or personality differences that would sort themselves out. I didn't say anything either. I didn't want to be the bitter mother-in-law who ruins her son's happiness. But now, standing at the door of my own apartment, watching this family settled in like it was their own personal hotel, I realized I should have said something from the very beginning. "Eleanor, what are you doing standing there?" Chloe's voice snapped me out of it. "Come on, I'll tell you all about it." I walked in slowly, closing the door behind me. Brenda had moved my coffee table over to the window and put her own suitcases where my table used to be. There was women's clothing hanging on the backs of my dining chairs. In the kitchen, Madison was making coffee in my Italian mocha pot, the one I bought on a special trip years ago and almost never use because I'm afraid of breaking it. What is going on here?" I asked, trying to stay calm. Chloe came over, took my arm familiarly, and guided me toward the sofa. "Oh, Eleanor, I'm sorry for not letting you know sooner. It all happened so fast. You see, Mom thought it would be nice for our families to get to know each other better before the wedding. You know? To build stronger bonds. And since you have this big apartment and we live so far away, well, Mom suggested we stay here these last few days. That way we can share, talk, get closer. Isn't that a wonderful idea? I just stared at her, processing every word. Share? Stay here? Without asking me? But does Nathan know about this? I managed to ask. Of course, he let us in a few hours ago. He gave us the keys you gave him and told us to get comfortable until you got back from your doctor's appointment. I felt a lead weight in my stomach. My son, my own son, had given them access to my home without consulting me. Chloe, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I appreciate the thought, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. This apartment is small for so many people, and I'm not. Oh, Eleanor, don't worry about space, she interrupted with that smile that was starting to seem less sweet and more calculated. We can fit anywhere. Kyle and Dad can sleep on the sofa. Madison and I will share the guest room, and Mom can stay in your room with you. Total, the bed is big enough. No. Share my room? My most private space, my sanctuary, the only place I can close the door and be completely alone? No, I said, and the word came out drier than I intended. I can't share my room. I need my privacy. Brenda, who until that moment had been busy rearranging my throw pillows, turned and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. It looked like surprise mixed with something darker. Privacy? She repeated, as if the word were a strange concept. But we're going to be family, Eleanor. In families, there's no such thing as privacy. We share everything. In my family, there is, I replied, feeling the tension start to climb up my back. And I need you to respect that. There was an awkward silence. Madison stopped making coffee. Kyle looked up from his phone for the first time. Gary coughed from the balcony. Chloe was still smiling, but there was something forced in her expression now, as if she were making a superhuman effort to keep her composure. Well, Chloe finally said, then Mom can stay on the sofa with Dad and Kyle. No problem. We're flexible people. That wasn't what I had meant to say, but before I could clarify, she had already changed the subject. Did you eat, Eleanor? Madison made some delicious pasta. We used the chicken you had in your refrigerator. Hope you don't mind. I went to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. It was almost empty. The chicken I'd bought yesterday for the whole week was gone. So were the vegetables, the cheese, the eggs. All that was left was a bottle of water and an expired yogurt that had been in there for days. There were a lot of us and we were hungry, Madison explained, shrugging. But don't worry. We can go to the grocery store together tomorrow and restock everything. It'll be fun. Fun. Using my food without permission seemed fun to her. I closed the refrigerator with more force than necessary and went back to the living room. I needed to talk to Nathan. Urgently, I picked up my phone and called him. It rang 5 times before he answered. Mom? What's up? You met the family. Nathan, I need you to come home now. We have to talk. Mom, I'm at work. It's urgent. Yes, it's urgent. Your mother-in-law and her kids are living in my apartment, and nobody asked me if I agreed. There was a pause. Mom, I was going to tell you. It's just for a few days. I thought you'd like the company. You always say you feel lonely. I felt a pang in my chest. Is that what he thought? That being alone was the same as being lonely? Nathan. It's one thing to feel lonely, and it's a completely different thing to have my space invaded without being consulted. I need you to come here and fix this. Mom, please. It's 10 days until the wedding. 10 days. Can't you make this sacrifice for me? Chloe says her family wanted to get to know you better, spend time with you. It's a nice gesture. A nice gesture? Nathan, they ate all my food, they moved my furniture. Your mother-in-law wanted to sleep in my bed. Mom, you're exaggerating. They're just for a few days. After the wedding, everyone will go home, and everything will go back to normal. I promise I'll make it up to you. I'll take you to dinner at that Italian place you like. The one. Yes, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My son, my Nathan, was minimizing what I felt. Nathan. Mom, I have a meeting in 5 minutes. We'll talk tonight when I get to your place. Behave with them, please. They're my new family." And he hung up. I stared at the phone, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Helplessness. My own son had hung up on me. He had asked me to behave, as if I were a spoiled child and not the owner of the house where there were now 5 people I hadn't invited. When I looked up, Brenda was watching me. There was something in her eyes, a kind of barely disguised satisfaction, as if she had heard the whole conversation and knew exactly how it had ended. "Everything okay, Eleanor?" she asked with false concern. "Yes," I lied. "Everything's fine." "Oh, good. Because we wanted to ask you a little favor. You see, we brought a lot of clothes and we need closet space. Do you think you could put some of your things in suitcases for a while? You know us women, we need space for our dresses, our blouses, our shoes." I looked at her, unable to believe what I'd just heard. Put my clothes in suitcases? In my own house? "Brenda, this is my closet. My clothes are already in there." "Oh, I know, of course, but it's just temporary. Only 10 days. You have so many old clothes you probably don't even wear. You can put those in boxes and make room for us. Besides, Chloe needs to have her dresses hung up properly. Nothing can get wrinkled before the wedding. Old." She had called my clothes old. I took a deep breath. I counted to 10 mentally. I couldn't explode. Not now. Nathan had asked me to behave, and even though every fiber of my being was screaming that this was wrong, I decided to try. For him. Only for him. "Fine," I said finally, "but only a few dresses. I can't pack away all my clothes." Brenda smiled broadly. "I knew you were a reasonable woman, Eleanor." Chloe was right. She said you were flexible and understanding. Flexible and understanding. Words that sounded lovely, but were starting to feel like a trap. I spent the rest of the afternoon watching them transform my apartment. Brenda rearranged the living room for better energy flow. She moved the sofa, changed the lamps, took my photographs off the wall because they made the space look dated. Every time I protested, Chloe would appear with that smile and say, "Oh, Eleanor, it's just so we're all more comfortable. We'll put everything back after the wedding. I promise." Promises. I was beginning to understand that this family's promises weren't worth anything. Kyle set himself up on the balcony like it was his personal office. He talked loudly on the phone, chain smoking, leaving cigarette butts in my potted plants. When I asked him not to smoke, he looked at me like I'd asked him to stop breathing. "It's my only vice, Eleanor. Don't be mean." Amanda occupied the bathroom for 2 full hours. 2 hours. When she finally came out, the mirror was steamed up, there were wet towels on the floor, and all my beauty products were open and had been used. My face cream, which had cost me $40, was half gone. "Oh, sorry," she said when she saw me looking at the disaster. "My skin is just so dry I had to moisturize. But don't worry, I'll buy you another one. Well, after the wedding. I'm a little short on cash right now." That first night was hell. Brenda and Gary settled onto the living room sofa, but it wasn't the quiet, discreet arrangement I'd hoped for. Brenda snored so loudly it sounded like a freight train was running through my living room. Gary coughed every 15 minutes. Kyle decided to stay up until 4 in the morning, watching videos on his phone at full volume, without headphones, because according to him, he needed to unwind after such a tough day. A tough day? He had done absolutely nothing but smoke on my balcony and eat my food. I was in my room, lying in my bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. I could hear everything. Kyle's laughter, Brenda's snoring, the constant murmur of Madison and Chloe talking in the guest room. I felt as if my apartment, my refuge, had been turned into someone else's house where I was just a tolerated tenant. At 3 in the morning, I heard footsteps in the hall. Someone was walking around. I lay still, holding my breath. The footsteps stopped right in front of my door. There was a long, uncomfortable silence. And then I heard the sound of the doorknob turning slowly. I sat up immediately. "Who is it?" "Oh, sorry, Eleanor. It's me, Chloe." I was thirsty, and I couldn't find a clean glass in the kitchen. Couldn't find a clean glass? I had washed all the dishes before bed. "The glasses are in the cabinet to the right," I said in a firm voice. And please, don't open my door without knocking first. Yes, of course. I'm sorry. It's just that, since this will be my house too after the wedding, I figured it was okay. Her house too. Those words hit me like stones in my stomach. Chloe, this is my house. After the wedding, you and Nathan will live in the apartment you're renting. There was a pause. Well, yeah, but Nathan told me we'd eventually move in here with you, that this apartment is bigger and you could use the company. Plus, that way we could take care of you when you're older. No. Nathan couldn't have told her that. He knew how important this place was to me. He knew I had bought it precisely to have my own space, my independence. Chloe, I think there's a misunderstanding. Nathan and I have never talked about you two moving in here. Well, maybe not in those exact words, but he mentioned you have a lot of space and that you'd be alone. I just thought. Don't think any more, I interrupted, harsher than I intended. I will have this conversation with my son. Now, please, let me sleep. I heard her footsteps walk away, but something in her tone, in the casual way she had said my house too, filled me with a deep anxiety that didn't let me get back to sleep all night. The next morning I got up at 6. As always, I thought I'd have a moment of peace, that I could make myself a coffee in quiet before everyone woke up. But when I got to the kitchen, Brenda was already there, using my coffee maker, my mugs, making breakfast as if it were her own home. Good morning, Eleanor. She greeted me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Hope I didn't wake you. I'm an early riser, too. I already made coffee. Want some? My coffee. In my coffee maker. In my kitchen. Thanks, I muttered, sitting down in one of the chairs that was now in a different place than it was yesterday. Brenda poured me a small cup, barely half full. Then she poured a huge mug for herself. She sat down across from me and looked at me with that expression I was starting to recognize. Evaluation mixed with something that looked like disdain. Eleanor, I wanted to talk to you about something important. You see, Chloe is my only daughter. I've taken care of her all her life, raised her right, and now that she's getting married, I need to make sure she'll be in good hands. Nathan is a good man, I replied, feeling the need to defend my son. Yes, he seems to be, but a good man needs a good home. And this apartment, well, it's nice, but it needs some changes. For example, that living room wall would look better if we painted it a more modern color, and the kitchen needs remodeling. The cabinets are very old. I stared at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. She was criticizing my apartment? Suggesting remodeling? Brenda, with all due respect, this apartment is perfectly fine as it is. I bought it 2 years ago, and everything is relatively new. Oh, sure, but it has such an outdated style. Chloe has very good taste, you know. She could help you modernize everything. In fact, she already took pictures of several spaces to show a decorator friend of hers. I felt my blood boil. I don't need a decorator. And I'm not remodeling anything. Brenda looked at me like I was a stubborn child. Well, when Chloe and Nathan move in here, they'll want to make changes. It's natural for young people to want to add their personal touch. I already told Chloe last night. They are not moving in here. They have their own apartment. A rental, Brenda scoffed. Eleanor, paying rent is throwing money away. Why would they waste $1,500 a month when you have this huge place and you're all alone? It doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense, I replied, clutching the mug in my hands. This is my space. I need it. But you're all alone. A woman your age shouldn't be alone. It's dangerous. What if you fall? What if something happens to you in the night? You need someone to take care of you. I am 67 years old, not 90. I walk 3 miles every morning. I do yoga twice a week, and my last checkup was perfect. I don't need anyone to take care of me. I appreciate your concern, but I'm perfectly fine alone. That's what you say now. But in a few years, when you can't move around so well, when you need help, who's going to be there? Nathan is your only son. It's his responsibility to take care of you. And if he lives here with Chloe, it'll be easier for everyone. Responsibility. That word hurt more than I expected. Did my son see me as a responsibility? As a future burden? Before I could answer, Madison walked into the kitchen in her pajamas, yawning. Is there coffee yet? I'm dying. Brenda poured her a cup immediately, giving her a bigger one than mine. Madison didn't even say good morning to me. She sat down, pulled out her phone, and started taking pictures of her coffee for her social media. "Mom, did you tell her about the room?" Madison asked without looking up from her phone. "What room?" I asked. Brenda cleared her throat. "Well, Chloe and I were thinking it would be nice if we could use your master bedroom as the newlyweds' room. You know, so Nathan and Chloe can have privacy after the wedding. And you could move into the guest room. It's smaller, but for one person, it's enough." I was frozen. Me? Move? Out of my own bedroom? In my own apartment? "No," I said, and this time my voice came out like a threatening whisper. "I am not moving out of my room. But Eleanor, be reasonable. The newlyweds need the biggest room. It's the logical thing. The logical thing is for them to live in their own apartment." Madison looked up from her phone and glared at me. "Oh, Eleanor, why are you so selfish? My sister is marrying your son. You're going to be family. In families, you share." Selfish. She had called me selfish for wanting to keep my own bedroom in my own house. I stood up from the chair so fast I almost knocked it over. This conversation is over, and I want to make something very clear. This is my apartment. I decide who lives here, what gets changed, and what doesn't. And nobody, absolutely nobody, is moving me out of my room. I stormed out of the kitchen, trembling with rage. I went straight to my room and locked the door. I sat on my bed, trying to calm my breathing. How had it come to this? How had I let this situation get so out of control? I picked up my phone and called Nathan again. This time he answered on the first ring. "Mom, good morning. Nathan, we need to talk now. Did you tell Chloe you were moving in here with me after the wedding?" There was a long silence. Too long. "Mom, it was just a conversation. I told her that maybe in the future, when you needed company." "I don't need company. I need my space." "Mom, calm down, please. You're misinterpreting everything. I just mentioned to Chloe that this apartment is big, that it has 3 bedrooms, and that in the distant future, if you ever wanted company, we could consider the idea. Nothing more." "Nathan, your mother-in-law just told me I should move to the guest room so you two can have my room. Does that sound like a conversation about the distant future?" I heard his nervous breathing on the other end. "Brenda said that? Mom, it must have been a misunderstanding." "I never. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a demand. And Chloe told me last night that this apartment will be her house too after the wedding." "You told her that?" "Mom, Chloe is excited. She probably said it without thinking. I'll talk to her, I promise, but please, don't make a scene. It's 9 days until the wedding." 9 days. Can't you just hold on a little longer for me? Hold on? Nathan, this isn't holding on. This is an invasion. They're using my things, moving my furniture, planning renovations, trying to kick me out of my room. And you're asking me to hold on. Mom, you're being dramatic. They're just minor inconveniences. After the wedding, everything will go back to normal. Dramatic. My son was calling me dramatic for defending my own space. Nathan, listen to me very carefully. Either you come today and get your mother-in-law and her family out of here, or I will. And it won't be pleasant. Mom, you can't kick them out. They're my future wife's family. How do you think Chloe will feel? How am I supposed to explain that my own mother threw her family out on the street? They're adults. They have their own home. Let them go back there. They live 4 hours away. We invited them to be close for the wedding preparations. Mom, please, I'm begging you. It's just a few more days. After that, I swear, everything will be different. I felt a lump in my throat. My son was begging me, but not for my well-being. He was begging me to endure this abuse so as not to inconvenience his fiancée. Nathan, when did you stop thinking about me? Mom, that's not fair. I always think about you. That's why I want you and Chloe to get along. I want you to be happy. I am not happy. Not at all. Mom, I have to go. We'll talk tonight. I love you. And he hung up again. For the second time in 2 days. My son had hung up the phone on me. I sat on my bed, feeling tears start to well up in my eyes. I didn't cry. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. But I felt a profound sadness, a sense of abandonment I hadn't experienced since Nathan's father left us decades ago. I spent the rest of the morning locked in my room. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to face Chloe's fake smiles or Brenda's disguised demands. I heard noises in the apartment, footsteps, conversations, laughter. My house sounded full, but I felt completely alone. Around noon, there was a knock on my door. It was Chloe. "Eleanor, are you okay? You haven't come out in hours. We're missing you." I didn't answer. "Eleanor, we made lunch. There's enough for everyone. Don't you want to come eat with us?" "I'm not hungry," I said from inside. "Oh, but you have to eat something. Come on, we'll wait for you at the table." The table, my table, where Brenda had probably already rearranged everything to her liking. I said, "I'm not hungry, Chloe." There was a silence. Then I heard her footsteps walking away. But she wasn't alone. I heard whispers in the hall, and then Brenda's voice, clear and loud. "Leave her. If she wants to throw a childish tantrum, let her do it alone. We're going to eat and enjoy ourselves." Tantrum. She had called defending my space and my dignity a tantrum. I waited until they had gone to the kitchen, and I silently slipped out of my room. I needed air. I needed to get out of this apartment that no longer felt like mine. I grabbed my purse, my keys, and left without saying goodbye. I walked aimlessly through the neighborhood for hours. I went into a small cafe I liked and sat by the window. I ordered a tea and just watched people pass by. Families, couples, people alone like me. They all seemed to have a purpose, a place to go, a space where they were welcome. I had an apartment, but it wasn't a home anymore. My phone vibrated. It was a text from Madison. "Eleanor, where did you leave the closet keys? We need to store some things." Closet keys? My closet never had keys. What was she talking about? Then another message came, this time from Chloe. "Eleanor, what time are you coming back? We need to talk about the wedding arrangements. We need your opinion on a few things." I didn't answer either message. I turned off my phone and just sat there, in that cafe, feeling something close to peace for the first time in days. I got back to the apartment when it was already getting dark. It was almost 8 o'clock at night. I thought maybe there would be a moment of calm, that I could get in, eat something quickly, and lock myself in my room until the next day. But when I opened the door, I was met with a scene I never imagined. There were people, so many people. Strangers filled my living room, my kitchen, my balcony. There was music blasting, beer bottles on my coffee table, the smell of cigarettes permeating everything. Kyle was by the massive speakers he'd brought from God knows where, laughing with 3 men I'd never seen. Madison was dancing in the middle of the living room with 2 women. Brenda was in the kitchen pouring drinks as if she were the hostess of her own party. And Chloe, my future daughter-in-law, was sitting on my sofa with Nathan beside her, smiling and making a toast with a group of friends. I just stood in the doorway, keys still in my hand, staring at how my apartment had been turned into a bar. Nathan saw me, and his smile vanished. He got up quickly and came over to me. "Mom, you're here. We tried to call you, but your phone was off." Chloe organized a little get-together with her friends to celebrate being so close to the wedding. "A little get-together?" I repeated, looking around. "Nathan, there are like 20 people here." Well, word got out, and more people came than we expected. But don't worry, they brought their own drinks. They're not using your stuff. I looked toward the kitchen and saw Brenda serving drinks in my glasses, using my plates for snacks. "Nathan, this is unacceptable. You didn't ask my permission to have a party in my house." "Mom, it's not a party, it's just a get-together. And I was going to ask your permission, but since you weren't answering your phone, and Chloe had already invited everyone, well, we decided to go ahead. Besides, I thought you'd be happy to see your son happy." "Happy? He thought this made me happy?" Chloe approached, swaying a little. She was tipsy. "Eleanor, you're here. Come on, let me introduce you to my friends. They're amazing. You'll love them." "Chloe, this stops now. I want everyone to leave." Her smile froze. "What?" "Everyone out. Now. This is my house, and I did not authorize any gathering." Brenda appeared behind Chloe, a glass of wine in her hand. "Oh, Eleanor, don't be a killjoy. The kids are celebrating. What's wrong with that? What's wrong is that nobody asked me. This is my house." Your house, Brenda mocked. "We get it, it's your house. But it's going to be your son's and Chloe's house soon, so you better get used to sharing." Something inside me snapped in that moment. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explosive. It was quiet and final, like a rope that's been pulled taut for days and finally breaks. "Everyone out," I said, in a voice I didn't recognize as my own. It was cold, controlled, dangerous. Now, the music was still playing. The conversations continued. No one had heard me except Brenda, Chloe, and Nathan. "Mom, you're exaggerating," Nathan said, trying to take my arm. "Let them finish. They're about to leave anyway." I pulled my arm away. "Nathan, either you get them out, or I will. And I assure you, it won't be pleasant." Chloe laughed, a high-pitched, nervous laugh. "Oh, Eleanor, you're joking, right? You can't be serious." I looked her straight in the eye. I have never been more serious in my life. Brenda stepped forward, placing herself between me and Chloe like a protective shield. "Look, Eleanor, I understand you're upset, but you have no right to ruin the kids' night. We'll talk calmly tomorrow, but right now, there is no tomorrow. There is no conversation. I want everyone out of my house in the next 5 minutes, or I'm calling the police." The silence that followed was absolute. Someone had turned off the music. All the guests were staring at us now. I could feel their eyes on me, judging me, seeing me as the villain of the story. Nathan looked pale. "Mom, you can't be serious. The police? These are Chloe's friends." 5 minutes, I repeated, pulling my phone from my purse. Chloe started to cry. They weren't real tears. They were those calculated tears some women can produce at will. "I can't believe you're doing this to me. I just wanted us to be a happy family. I just wanted us to get to know each other better." Getting to know each other better doesn't include invading my space, using my things without permission, planning to move in here without consulting me, and especially not throwing parties in my house without my authorization. "It's not a party," Chloe yelled, and for the first time, her mask of sweetness cracked completely. "It's a get-together, a simple get-together. Why do you have to be so difficult? Why can't you just accept that we're family now, and families share space?" "Because this isn't your family yet," I said coldly. "And even if it were, that doesn't give you the right to invade my home." Brenda let out a bitter laugh. "Invading? Please. We've been more than kind to you. We've cooked, cleaned, tried to make this work, and all you do is complain. You cleaned with my products. You cooked with my food. And I didn't ask you to do any of those things." "Oh, I'm tired of this," Brenda said, setting her wine glass down on my coffee table without a coaster. "Chloe, let's go. We're not staying where we're not welcome." "No," Chloe said, her voice trembling but firm. "We're not leaving. This apartment is going to be ours too," Nathan promised me. We all looked at Nathan. My son was standing there, caught between his mother and his fiancée, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. "Nathan," I said in a low voice, "what exactly did you promise?" He looked down. "Mom, I told her. We could talk to you about the possibility of them moving in here after the wedding, just to save money while we save for our own house." "And when were you planning to consult me?" "I was going to, after the wedding, when you were more relaxed." "More relaxed," I repeated, feeling a mix of disbelief and fury. "Nathan, you planned to move your wife into my house without asking me, hoping I'd just accept it because it would already be a done deal. It's not like that, Mom. I knew you'd say yes. You've always been so generous with me." "Generous doesn't mean you can abuse me." Chloe walked up to Nathan and clung to his arm. "Nathan, tell her we already talked about this, that we agreed we'd live here for at least 2 years until we could buy our own house. Tell her your mom was on board." "I was on board?" My voice rose. "When? At what point did I give my consent for this?" Nathan opened his mouth, but no words came out. Chloe was looking at him with desperate eyes, Brenda with contained fury, and I with a mix of pain and disappointment I didn't know how to express. The guests started to file out silently, murmuring apologies, avoiding eye contact. In less than 3 minutes, the apartment was empty except for Chloe's family, Nathan, and me. Kyle was the first to speak. "Well, this got awkward. I'm going to bed." And he disappeared toward the living room, where he had apparently decided the sofa was his permanent bed. Madison followed him without a word, but before she left, she shot me a look of contempt that made it very clear what she thought of me. Gary, who had been smoking on the balcony during the entire conflict, finally came inside and said, "Brenda, let's go to sleep. We'll talk about this tomorrow with clear heads." "No," Brenda said firmly. "This gets settled now. Eleanor, you and I need to talk like adults." "We have nothing to talk about," I replied. "First thing tomorrow morning, I want you and your family out of my apartment." "And where are we supposed to go? A hotel? Do you know how much a hotel for 5 people costs for 9 days? Almost $3,000. We don't have that kind of money. That is not my problem." "Of course it's your problem. Chloe is your son's fiancée. If we can't stay for the wedding preparations, maybe there won't be a wedding." It was a threat, clear and direct. If I kicked them out, they would cancel the wedding. I looked at Nathan, waiting for him to say something, to defend his mother, to set boundaries. But my son just stared at the floor, hands in his pockets, like a child who'd been scolded and didn't know what to do. "Nathan," I said, my voice trembling, "look at me." He slowly raised his head. His eyes were red, like he was about to cry. "Are you going to let your mother-in-law threaten me in my own house?" "Mom, she's not threatening you. She's just saying that. She's saying that if I don't let them stay, there's no wedding." "That's blackmail, Nathan." Chloe stepped forward, wiping away her fake tears. "It's not blackmail, Eleanor. It's reality. My parents sold their house 3 months ago to help us with the wedding expenses. They're temporarily living with my aunt, but she can only have them until our ceremony date. After that, they have nowhere to go. That's why we needed to stay here. Not just for the preparations, but because we literally have no other place." I froze. "They sold their house?" "Yes," Chloe said. And for the first time, her voice sounded genuinely vulnerable. "They sold their house to give us $30,000 for the wedding, for the dress, for everything. And now they're planning to move in with us after the ceremony. That's why we needed this apartment. That's why Nathan promised me we could live here. Not just the 2 of us, but my parents too. At least until they find something." The world stopped. I looked at my son, silently begging him to deny what I had just heard. But Nathan just closed his eyes and nodded slightly. "It's true, Mom. Chloe's parents sacrificed everything for us. We can't just leave them on the street." "Then find them an apartment," I said, my voice breaking. "Help them rent something. But don't ask me to put 5 people in my house." "We don't have money for that," Nathan said. "Everything we had, we spent on the wedding and on the deposit for the apartment Chloe and I are now leaving because we planned on moving in here with you." I felt the floor open up beneath me. They had planned everything, every detail, and I was the last to find out. "When were you planning to tell me all this?" "After the wedding. When we were already married, and it would be harder for you to say no." The brutal honesty of his answer left me breathless. I sat down slowly in one of the chairs Brenda had moved, feeling my legs give out. My son, the boy I had raised alone, to whom I had given everything, had orchestrated a plan to manipulate me. Not only that, he had included 5 other people in that plan without ever consulting me. "Nathan," I said, in a voice I barely recognized as my own, "did you really think that after you were married, it would be harder for me to say no? That was your strategy? To back me into a corner?" He sank onto the sofa, his head in his hands. "I didn't plan it like this, Mom. It just got complicated. Chloe told me her parents had sold their house, and I didn't know what to do. She was crying every night, worried about her family. I promised her we would help them. You would help them, Nathan. You made that promise. Not me." Chloe knelt in front of me, taking my hands in hers. Her tears seemed real now, desperate. "Eleanor, please. We didn't know who else to turn to. You're the only one with space. My aunt lives in a 1-bedroom apartment. There's nowhere else to go. We're just asking for 1 year. 1 year, maximum, while my parents get on their feet and we find our own house. 1 year," I repeated, feeling as if ice water had been thrown on me. Chloe, 10 minutes ago you said it was 2 years. Now it's 1 year. What's the truth? She looked down. Well, it depends. If my parents find work quickly, it could be less. But, realistically, we need at least a year. 1 year. Living with 5 people in a 3-bedroom apartment. 1 year of sharing a bathroom, a kitchen, a living space. 1 year with no privacy, no peace, no home of my own. Brenda, who had been watching silently, finally spoke. Eleanor, I understand it's a lot to ask, but think about it. If you help us now, you'll have a daughter-in-law who is eternally grateful. Chloe will take care of you when you're older. We'll be in your debt. Isn't a small sacrifice for 1 year worth it to secure your future? My future doesn't need to be secured by anyone, I answered firmly. I have my retirement, my savings, my health. I don't need anyone to take care of me. Not yet, Brenda said with a smile that was meant to be understanding, but just looked calculating. But in 5, 10 years, when you can't take care of yourself, who's going to be there? Nathan is your only son. If you help him now, he'll help you later. That's how families work. It was emotional blackmail in its purest form. They were telling me that if I didn't sacrifice my peace of mind now, I would be alone in my old age. That my value as a mother depended on how much I was willing to sacrifice for a son who hadn't even had the courage to be honest with me. Brenda, I said, with a calm that surprised even me. I worked for 40 years to buy this apartment. 40 years of getting up at 5 in the morning, saving every cent, sacrificing vacations and luxuries. And I did it precisely to have my own place where no one could tell me what to do. I am not giving that up. Not for a year. Not for 6 months. Not for 1 more week. Then you're condemning my family to the street, Chloe said dramatically. Because that's what's going to happen. Without this apartment, my parents have nowhere to go. And why did they sell their house without a plan? I asked, feeling frustration wash over me. Why did they gamble everything without first making sure they had a place to live? Because we trusted Nathan's word, Brenda answered harshly. He told us not to worry, that you would be happy to help us, that you were a generous and understanding woman. We sold our house because your son assured us we would have this apartment. I looked at Nathan, a mix of disbelief and pain cutting off my breath. You told them that? You promised them my apartment without talking to me first? Nathan kept his head down, unable to look me in the eye. I thought you'd agree, Mom. You've always been generous. You've always supported me in everything. Supporting you is one thing, Nathan. Allowing you to dispose of my life without consulting me is something else entirely. Madison appeared from the living room, arms crossed, an expression of utter annoyance on her face. Oh, enough of this drama. Eleanor, let's be honest. You're an older woman, all alone, living in an apartment that's way too big for one person. We're a family that needs help. Isn't it the Christian, the human thing to do, to share what you have when others are in need? I looked at her with a coldness I had never felt toward anyone. The Christian and human thing to do is also to respect other people's boundaries, and not to manipulate a mother by using her son. Nobody is manipulating anyone, Brenda said, raising her voice. Your son made us a promise. A serious promise. We sold our house based on that promise. If you back out now, we've lost everything because of you. It's not my fault. It's because you made decisions without confirming them first. I never ever promised you anything, but your son did, and you're his mother. It's your responsibility to support him. I stood up from the chair, feeling something inside me harden definitively. My responsibility as a mother ended when Nathan became an adult. I raised him, I educated him, I supported him, but this isn't support. This is allowing myself to be abused. Then the wedding is canceled, Chloe said dramatically, pulling off her engagement ring and throwing it on the table. If you won't support us, if you won't help us in this difficult time, then there's no wedding, because I am not marrying a man whose mother doesn't want us. It was the climax of her performance. The ring glittered on the table, a symbol of everything I would supposedly lose if I didn't give in. Everyone was staring at me, waiting for me to run for the ring, to beg for forgiveness, to say yes to everything just to keep the wedding on track. But something inside me had broken. That maternal instinct to protect my son at all costs had fractured against the evidence that he would not protect me. "Then let it be cancelled," I said, in a firm voice that surprised everyone in the room. The silence that followed was absolute. Chloe was staring at me with wide eyes, as if she couldn't believe what she'd just heard. Brenda's mouth was hanging open. Gary coughed nervously. Madison dropped her phone. And Nathan, my son, looked at me with an expression of betrayal so deep, it almost made me back down. Almost. "Mom?" His voice was barely a whisper. "What did you just say?" I said, "If the price of this wedding is my dignity, my space, and my peace, then let it be cancelled. I am not sacrificing everything I worked for 40 years because you made promises you couldn't keep." "You can't be serious," Chloe shrieked, her voice rising. "You can't ruin our wedding." "I'm not ruining it. You are, with your lies and manipulation." Nathan jumped to his feet, his fists clenched and his face red with fury. "You know what, Mom? You're right. I don't need your permission. I don't need your apartment. I don't even need your blessing. I'm going to marry Chloe, with or without your approval." "Perfect," I said, and my voice didn't tremble. "Then get married. But find a solution to your housing problem that doesn't include me." "You're so selfish," he spat the words like venom. "All my life, I gave you everything. I sacrificed my dreams to take care of you when you were sick. I've worked since I was 15 to help with the bills. And now, the one time I ask you for a favor, just one, you deny me. Nathan, you didn't sacrifice anything for me. You worked because you wanted your own money. I never asked you to give up anything. And to call this a favor is to minimize a massive imposition. You know what the real problem is?" he said, his voice trembling with rage. "You can't stand the idea of me being happy. You can't stand me having my own family. You've always been possessive, controlling, unable to let me be independent." Every word was a stab. My son, whom I had raised alone, was accusing me of being the villain in a story he himself had built with lies. "If that's what you think of me," I said, my voice broken but firm, "then maybe it's best you leave. Take your things, take your fiancée and her family, and go. Now." "With pleasure," Nathan replied, heading toward the guest room where he'd stored some of his things. Chloe looked at me with pure hatred. "This isn't over, Eleanor. You owe us. Nathan promised us this apartment, and we made decisions based on that. There are legal consequences for this kind of situation." "Are you threatening to sue me?" I asked, a bitter laugh rising in my throat. "Sue me then, but do it from somewhere else, because you are leaving my house today." Brenda stepped up to me with slow, deliberate steps, like a predator sizing up its prey. "You don't know who you're messing with, Eleanor. My family has connections. We know lawyers, influential people. We can make your life miserable." "Try me," I replied, with a calm I didn't know I possessed. "But first, get out of my apartment." "We're not going anywhere," Brenda said, planting herself in front of me. "We've been living here for 3 days. That gives us occupants' rights. If you want us out, you'll have to go through a legal eviction process that could take months. And in the meantime, we'll be right here." A chill ran down my spine. Was that true? Did 3 days give them legal rights to my own apartment? The idea filled me with a panic I tried to control. "I don't care how long it takes," I said, though my voice trembled slightly. "I'll start the process tomorrow," Amanda laughed from her corner. "Oh, lady, you're really mad. But let's be realistic. Are you really going to destroy the relationship with your only son over sharing your space for a year? Is it worth it?" "Yes," I answered without hesitation. "It's worth it to preserve my dignity." Nathan came out of the room with a small suitcase. His eyes were red, but his jaw was tight, clenched with a rage I had never seen in him. "Done. I'm leaving." "Chloe, are you coming?" Chloe looked at him, then at me, calculating. I could see the wheels turning in her head, planning her next move. "No," she said finally. "I'm not leaving. Your mom can't just kick us out like this. We have rights." "Chloe, please," Nathan begged. "Don't make this harder." "Harder for who?" she snapped. "For you? For your mom? What about me? What about my parents who sold their house because you promised them we'd have this place? You're just going to abandon them now?" Nathan froze, trapped between his mother and his fiancée. And in that moment, I saw something I had never seen before in my son. Cowardice. Pure and absolute cowardice. He didn't know what to do, so he did nothing. He just stood there, suitcase in hand, staring at the floor. That's what I thought, Chloe said with satisfaction. We're not going anywhere. Nathan, put down that ridiculous suitcase and come here. To my absolute horror, Nathan obeyed. He dropped the suitcase by the door and went back to Chloe's side, who took his arm possessively, as if marking her territory. Nathan, I said, my voice breaking, are you really going to let this happen? He wouldn't look at me. Mom, they have nowhere to go. What do you want me to do? I want you to defend me. I want you to set boundaries. I want you to be the man I raised, and not this stranger who lets his fiancée and his mother-in-law disrespect me in my own house. They're not disrespecting you, he muttered. They're just defending their rights. Their rights? I repeated, feeling the rage replace the pain. What rights do they have to my apartment? What right do they have to demand anything from me? Brenda intervened again, her voice taking on a falsely conciliatory tone. Look, Eleanor, let's be reasonable. We obviously got off on the wrong foot. Maybe it was our fault for not communicating better. But now that we're all here, why don't we make a deal? We stay just until after the wedding. 1 more week. And after that, we'll find another solution. I already said no. Fine. 2 weeks then. We'll pay rent. Say, $100 for the 2 weeks. That's fair. No. $100? My apartment would rent for $1,200 a month if I leased it, and she was offering me $100 to house 5 people for 2 weeks. It's not about the money. It's about respect. And you haven't shown me a shred of respect since you got here. Because you haven't given us a chance, Chloe said sweetly, turning that performance back on. Eleanor, I know we started badly, but I promise you, if you give us 1 more chance, it will all be different. We'll be super quiet. We won't touch your things. We'll respect your space. We just need a little time to get organized. I'd heard those promises before. I'd heard them when they arrived. I'd heard them when they asked for closet space. I'd heard them when they threw the party. Every promise had been broken within hours. No, I said with absolute firmness. No more chances. I want you gone. Now, Kyle, who had been watching everything from the edge of the living room, finally spoke up. You know what? I'm sick of this. Eleanor clearly doesn't want us here. Chloe, Mom, let's just admit defeat and find a hotel. For a moment, I thought someone in that family had common sense. But Brenda shot him a look that could kill. We are not paying $2,500 for a hotel because this woman is selfish. We're staying. You are not staying, I repeated, and this time I went for the phone. I'm calling the police. Nathan stepped between me and the phone. Mom, no, please, don't call the police. We can solve this by talking. I already tried talking. No one listened. Then I'll listen now. Tell me what you want. What do you need to feel comfortable? It was a trap. Anything I said would be used against me as proof that I was negotiable, that there was room to manipulate me. What I want is my house empty. Of uninvited guests. But Mom. No buts, Nathan. Either you all leave of your own free will, or I'll call the authorities. And before your mother-in-law says you have occupants' rights again, I'll remind you that you entered under temporary authorization that I never gave. That's called trespassing. I wasn't entirely sure I was legally correct, but I said it with such conviction that I saw doubt flicker across their faces. Gary, who had been practically invisible, finally spoke. Brenda, maybe we should go. This is getting really ugly. Shut up, Gary, his wife snapped without looking at him. We're not going anywhere. I picked up the phone and dialed 911. I put it on speakerphone so everyone could hear. 911. What's your emergency? Hello, I have people in my house who are refusing to leave. I need help removing them. There was a shocked silence in the apartment. No one thought I would actually do it. Are the individuals a physical threat to you, ma'am? Not directly, but they are refusing to leave my property after I've asked them to go. I understand. Are they family or acquaintances? They are my son's fiancé's family and my son. Do they live with you regularly? No. They arrived 3 days ago without my permission and are refusing to leave. I understand the situation, ma'am. However, this may be a civil matter rather than a criminal one. I would recommend that. Brenda snatched the phone from my hand. Officer, this woman is lying. We have permission to be here. Her own son gave us the keys. We're not trespassing. The operator maintained a professional tone. Ma'am, can you please return the phone to the owner of the house? It's just that she's confused. She's an elderly woman and sometimes forgets things. We're her future son-in-law's family. We're here for the wedding. I felt a rage so intense I had to close my eyes for a moment. She had called me confused, implied I had memory problems, that I was a disoriented old woman. All to discredit my call. I grabbed the phone back. Officer, I am not confused. I am 67 years old. I have all my mental faculties intact, and I want these people out of my property. My son gave them access without my consent. I am the sole owner of this apartment. Understood, ma'am. We'll send a squad car to assess the situation. What is your address? I gave my full address while Brenda stared at me with pure hatred. Virginia had started crying again, this time with dramatic sobs that filled the apartment. Madison was filming everything with her phone, probably for her social media. Kyle was cursing under his breath. Gary looked like he wanted to disappear. And Nathan, my son, was looking at me as if I were a monster. Mom, you really called the cops? On your own family? They are not my family, Nathan. And you aren't acting like my son. The words slipped out before I could stop them. And I saw them hit him. I saw his face twist from anger to pain to something cold and distant I had never seen in him. You're right, he said in a flat voice. I'm not your son anymore. A real son would have a mother who supports him unconditionally, not one who calls the police on his family. Nathan, no, we're done talking. When the police get here, I'll tell them exactly what happened. That you invited us, that you told us we could stay, and that now you're having an episode of senile confusion. The words hit me like a physical slap. My own son was going to lie to the police to make me look like a demented old woman. You wouldn't dare. Watch me, Nathan said, his eyes cold. I've decided. Either you call it off right now and let us stay, or I'll make you look like a crazy old woman in front of the authorities. I stared at my son as if he were a stranger. Because, in that moment, he was. The Nathan the First had raised, the sweet boy who brought me wildflowers from school, the teenager who hugged me when I cried over bills I couldn't pay, was gone. In his place was a man willing to destroy his own mother to please a woman he'd only known for 6 months. Go ahead, I said, my voice trembling but firm. Tell the police whatever you want, but I have the documents proving I'm the sole owner of this apartment. I have text messages where you yourself told me you were coming to visit, not to move in. And I have neighbors who can testify these people just arrived 3 days ago. The confidence in his face wavered for a moment. He hadn't thought of that. None of them had. They were so used to manipulating, to getting their way with tears and threats, that they hadn't considered I might have actual evidence. Furthermore, I continued, feeling myself regain control, if you tell the police you invited them and I say you didn't, they'll check who is on the property deed, and it's just me. Not even you are on that title, Nathan. I never put you on it, because I wanted to make sure no one could ever take this place from me. I saw the realization dawn on him. All his life, he had assumed he would one day inherit this apartment. But technically, legally, I could leave it to whomever I wanted, or sell it, or donate it. He had no automatic right to this property. Brenda seemed to catch on. Wait, you're saying your own son has no rights to this apartment? That's exactly what I'm saying. And when were you planning on telling him? I never planned on telling him, because I never imagined we'd reach this point. I always assumed Nathan would respect me enough not to try and take over my home. Virginia let out a hysterical laugh. This is unbelievable. Nathan, your mom doesn't even have you in the will. You know that? She'll probably leave everything to some charity before she leaves it to you. I don't have a will yet, I clarified coldly, but after tonight, I think it's time to make one, and you're right about one thing. I'm definitely not leaving it to someone who tried to steal my house while I was still alive. The sound of sirens began to grow closer. The police were coming. Everything was about to get very real, very fast. Madison stopped filming. "Mom, we should go. This is going to get ugly." "We're not leaving," Brenda insisted, but for the first time, I detected uncertainty in her voice. "We're staying and explaining the situation. We're the victims here. This woman invited us, and now she wants to kick us out." "I never invited you," I repeated for the umpteenth time. "My son gave you access without my permission. That does not constitute a valid invitation." The siren stopped in front of the building. I heard car doors close, voices on the street. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. Nathan looked at me one last time. "Mom, last chance. Tell the police it was a misunderstanding and we've resolved it. We can still fix this." "Fix it how, Nathan?" "By letting them trample me? By letting them turn my home into a nightmare? By sacrificing my dignity so you don't have to face the consequences of your empty promises?" "Mom." "No," I interrupted. "It's over. I'm going to open that door and let the police do their job." The doorbell rang before I could. 2 officers were in the hallway, a young woman in her 30s and an older man, probably close to my age. "Good evening, ma'am," the officer said. "We received a call about a domestic dispute. Are you the owner of the property?" "Yes, I'm Eleanor Morales. This is my house." "And these people?" she asked, looking inside where Brenda, Chloe, Madison, Kyle, Gary, and Nathan were all watching. "They are my son's fiancé's family and my son himself. They entered 3 days ago without my permission and are refusing to leave." The older officer looked at Nathan. "Are you the son?" "Yes, sir. But this is a misunderstanding. My mom is confused. She gave us permission to be here." "That's not true," I said firmly. "I never gave permission. He gave them access using keys I had given him for emergencies, not to bring guests." "Do you have proof of ownership, ma'am?" the officer asked. "Of course. I went to my room and got the property deeds for the apartment. I showed them to the officers, who reviewed them carefully. The documents are in your name only," the older officer confirmed. "Does anyone else live here regularly or pay rent?" "No, none of them." "But we have the son's permission," Brenda chimed in. "He lives here." "Is that true?" the officer asked, looking at me. "No, Nathan has his own apartment. He visits occasionally, but he doesn't live here and is not on any property documents." The officers looked at each other, communicating silently. Then the older one spoke, addressing everyone. "Here's the situation. This woman is the sole legal owner of the property. If she says she did not give you permission to be here, you are technically trespassing. However, since there's a family relationship involved and no violence, this could be treated as a civil matter." "So you can't kick us out," Chloe said triumphantly. "I didn't say that," the officer clarified. "I said it's complicated, but if the owner insists you leave and you refuse, we can escort you off the property. The legal dispute over whether you have occupancy rights would have to be settled in court later." "I insist they leave," I said without hesitation. "Now." The officer looked at Nathan with something that looked like pity. "Sir, can you confirm you have another place to live?" Nathan nodded slowly, defeated. "Yes, I have an apartment. And the rest of you?" Brenda lifted her chin defiantly. "We can go to a hotel." "Then I suggest you gather your belongings and leave peacefully. The alternative is us removing you by force, which will result in an official report that could complicate any future legal dispute." There was a long, tense silence. Finally, Gary was the first to move. "Brenda, let's go. We've lost." "We haven't lost anything," she hissed, but she started walking toward the living room where their suitcases were. The next 30 minutes were surreal. I watched as they collected their things under the officer's supervision. Chloe was crying dramatically, muttering things about family and betrayal. Madison was shooting me murderous looks as she packed. Kyle was cursing under his breath. Brenda moved with a cold, furious efficiency. And Nathan packed in silence, without looking at me once. When they were done, they had 4 large suitcases, 3 backpacks, and several bags. The female officer escorted them to the door, while the older officer stayed with me. "Are you sure you want to do this, ma'am?" he asked in a low voice. "He's your son." "I know," I replied, my voice breaking. "But I can't let him abuse me just because he's my son." He nodded with understanding. "I get it. You've made a difficult but brave choice." One by one, they filed out. Brenda walked past me without a word. Gary muttered an apology I barely heard. Kyle and Madison didn't even look at me. Chloe stopped right in front of me. "This isn't over," she whispered, her voice full of venom. "You owe us. And we're going to collect." "Try me," I replied, calmer than I felt. Finally, only Nathan was left. He stopped in the doorway, suitcase in hand, and looked at me. There were tears in his eyes. "Mom," he said, his voice broken, "are you really going to let me go like this? You're leaving by your own choice, Nathan. You chose them over me. I didn't choose anyone over anyone. I just wanted us all to be happy. You can't build happiness on the unhappiness of others. And you definitely can't build it on lies and manipulation. You'll regret this," he said, and it didn't sound like a threat, but a sad warning. "When you're alone, when you need me, you'll remember tonight." "Maybe," I admitted, "but at least I'll be alone with my dignity intact." He turned and left without another word. The officer closed the door behind him. The older officer handed me a card. "If they come back and cause trouble, call us immediately. And I'd recommend you change the locks first thing in the morning." "I will." "Thank you, officer." When both officers had left, I stood in the middle of my living room, surrounded by the mess Chloe's family had left. Pillows out of place, dirty glasses, cigarette butts in my potted plants, the smell of someone else's food permeating everything, and silence. A complete and total silence. I let myself fall onto the sofa, and for the first time in 3 days, I cried. I cried for my son. I cried for the relationship I had just destroyed. I cried for the lost innocence, for the broken trust, for the family I thought I'd have, and now never would. But I also felt something else, something I didn't expect. Relief. I spent all night cleaning. Not because I had the energy, but because I needed to reclaim my space. I washed every plate they had used, every glass, every fork. I wiped down the kitchen counters where Brenda had cooked. I opened all the windows to let the smell of Kyle's cigarettes out. I moved the furniture back to its original place. I hung my photographs back on the wall. At 6 in the morning, as the sun began to stream through the kitchen window, my apartment finally looked like my home again. I made myself a coffee. The first one in days that I'd had without sharing my coffee maker, and I sat by the window to watch the city wake up. My phone had been ringing all night. Messages from Nathan, from Chloe, even from Brenda. I didn't read them. I didn't have the strength for more manipulation, more begging, more threats. I blocked them all. At 9 in the morning, I called a locksmith. By 11, all my locks were changed. The only keys that existed now were in my possession. No one else had access to my home. The following days were strange. On one hand, I felt a deep peace being alone again, being able to walk through my apartment without running into Brenda criticizing something or Madison using my things. I could cook what I wanted, watch TV at any hour, sleep without snoring or late-night conversations coming through the walls. But on the other hand, the absence of Nathan hurt like an open wound. He didn't call, he didn't text. It was as if he had died to me, or rather, as if I had died to him. A week after that night, I received a legal notice. Chloe was suing me for promissory estoppel and emotional distress. She claimed my son had promised them the apartment, that they had made financial decisions based on that promise, and that I was responsible for compensating them for their losses. They were asking for $50,000. I hired a lawyer who reviewed all my documents and assured me the lawsuit had no legal standing. "Mrs. Morales," he said, "what your son promised has no legal validity, because he didn't own the property. It's like me promising to give you the Brooklyn Bridge. No matter how sincere my promise, I can't give away what isn't mine." 2 months later, the lawsuit was dismissed. The judge didn't even let it go to trial. During those 2 months, Nathan never contacted me once. I found out from a neighbor that the wedding was definitively canceled. Apparently, once Chloe realized she wasn't getting the apartment or the money, she began to distance herself from Nathan. One Saturday morning, 3 months after that terrible night, there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Nathan. He was alone, no suitcases, with deep circles under his eyes and an expression of total defeat. I opened the door, but left the chain on. "Hi, Mom," he said, his voice hoarse. "Nathan. Can we talk?" "That depends. Are you alone? Or is Brenda waiting by the elevator?" He winced. "I'm alone. Chloe and I broke up a month ago." I took the chain off and let him in. He looked around the apartment as if seeing it for the first time. "Mom, I came to apologize," he said finally, tears in his eyes. "I came to tell you that you were right about everything. Absolutely and completely right." "What happened, Nathan?" "Chloe left me when she found out the lawsuit was dismissed. She blamed me for everything. But the worst part is what I did to you. I said horrible things to you. I called you selfish. I threatened to make you look crazy in front of the police. And all because I was too much of a coward to admit I had made a mistake." "Yes," I said simply. "You did all of that. Can you forgive me?" "I don't know," I answered honestly. "What you did hurt me deeply. That doesn't get erased with an apology. I know. I don't expect you to forgive me today. But I needed you to know that I'm sorry, that I understand exactly what I did wrong." I sat down with him, keeping my distance. "Did you learn anything from all this?" "I learned that I can't give away what isn't mine. I learned that real family is built on respect. And most of all, I learned that boundaries aren't walls, they're doors that protect what's important." Those words resonated with me. They sounded like a genuinely learned lesson. "Nathan, I don't know if our relationship can ever be what it was. Something broke that night, but I don't want to lose you forever, either. You're my son. So there's hope. There's a possibility. But I need time. And I need to see real changes. Not just words." He got up to leave. Before he walked out, he turned around. "Mom, now that I'm alone, I get it. I understand the peace of having your own space. I understand how sacred it is to be able to close your door and know that no one is going to invade. I get that your house isn't just walls, it's your refuge, your achievement, your right. And I'm sorry I didn't get it sooner." "Thank you for saying that," I replied softly. I watched him walk away and close the door. I felt pain for what was lost, hope for what we might rebuild, and above all, self-respect for having defended my boundaries. Today, 1 year later, Nathan and I have a new relationship. It's not the same, it never will be. But it's honest, respectful, with clear boundaries. He comes to visit once a month. We have dinner, we talk, and then he goes home to his own apartment. And I go back to my house, my space, my peace. My apartment is still mine. My life is still mine. My boundaries remain intact. Because I learned something fundamental. My home isn't just the walls that surround me. My home is the boundaries I defend. And I will never, ever allow anyone to cross them without my permission again. Now I know that being alone doesn't mean being lost. It means being whole, being the owner of my own life, protecting what I worked so hard to build. And if that makes me selfish in the eyes of some, then so be it. My house has doors, and I decide who comes in, always.